council chambers. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, the first thing is roll call. Please note everyone, all the council persons are in attendance. We'll move on to the consent agenda, which includes an approval of the minutes from the January 25th meeting, approval of bills and claims, license and permits, renewal of a Class C liquor license with Sunday sales for Curps, renewal of a Class C beer permit with carryout wine, which includes native wine and Sunday sales at Dollar General Store, number 2756, renewal of a Class E liquor license with carryout beer, carryout wine, which includes native wine and Sunday sales at the Walmart Supercenter, number 1787. And finally, a new Class C liquor license for 8 months with outdoor service and Sunday sales for Golf Services, LLC.
Do I need to add in there the introduction of the golf superintendent?
We'll put it in later.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Cox?
Yes.
Fleshner?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Base? Yes. Haley?
Yes.
Benami?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Are there any oral requests and communications from the audience?
Mr. Mayor and Council, thank you. Vaughn Kettleson, 915 High Ridge Road here in Carroll. Just wanted to say a very few brief words. We've done a good job of encouraging the Sauk Rail Trail. I just want to encourage you to continue supporting recreational trails here in Carroll. I'm a fiscally conservative person myself. I know they cost money, and I know there's a lot of items that we have to budget for, certainly. Studies I've seen time and again show how much recreational trails actually pay for themselves, enriching communities, and actually helping to enrich downtown businesses, and in some cases draw new businesses to town. As a private citizen, I can tell you that's part of one of the attractions that drew me here to Carroll, rather than live in one of the outlying areas with my job. Your great trail system here. I know we've talked about doing some things, and again, just want to encourage you to consider recreational trails in your budget. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the correspondence. Hey, thank you for the correspondence you sent to us. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other oral requests? Seeing none, we'll move on to the ordinances. First up is Carroll City Ordinance, Chapter 56 Amendment, Section 1, with regards to dangerous and vicious animals. Brad?
Since the first reading, I've had a few citizens come to me with some mixed feelings, some pros, some cons to it. With that, and reading through the new definitions that I've written and given to you guys, I'm going to suggest that we table it this time. I'm going to amend some of it. It appears that we may be a little bit too subjective right now, and if we were to brought to a court hearing or anything like that, we may have some issues with showing the facts or showing the reasoning behind it. So I'm going to ask that we table it for this point, so we can try to make it a little bit more objective and make it more fact-finding, and we present it to you guys in the near future.
Thank you, Brad. Need a motion to
So I'll move to table that.
table the amendment?
I'll second that motion.
There is a motion and a second to table. Base? Yes. Benami?
Yes.
Cox?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Fleshner?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Now, that's with the understanding, Brad, that when you come back, you'll be at first reading again.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. I spoke with Dave this afternoon, and he advised that's the way we need to go about it. We'll just start not from scratch, but we'll just start with the first way reading again, and we can weigh there do as we wish for that time.
Thank you. Our second ordinance is the proposed Carroll Municipal Golf Course fees. This is the third reading. Jack, anything
Yes.
else to add, or?
Thank you, Mayor. Other than at the last meeting, the council waived the first and second reading, so it's back for a third reading. Everything is the same from what we looked at 2 weeks ago, other than the last proposal had a 2-year increment fee increase. We did the ordinance and took that second year out. So right now, you'd be approving on the third ordinance, March 1 of 16, family annual membership $744, adult $485, senior annual $437, senior couple $670, and the youth of $221 for the season. And again, anyone that pays for their membership before March 1 keeps the current rates.
Hey, Jack, I had one question to follow up on that. Somebody that's already doing the annual
Yep.
payments, the monthly payments
Yep.
now,
Yep.
will theirs go up, or
Nope.
can they renew at this point? How does that work for them?
If they're on ACH right now, that will continue through December. January 1, they would have these rates.
Okay.
So they're locked in.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Jack, I had one concern brought to me, and it was consideration of how our rates have gone up at the golf course compared to other, specifically the rec center.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us the last time that the rec center fees were changed?
At about the same time, we ran the golf course, rec center, and aquatic center through the same time. So 13.
2013.
Yep.
Okay.
So.
And it was an
that-
increase.
Yeah. And I think the last time the golf course was 7.5% and the rec was 5%. But that's something we'll be talking about in the near future is rec center rates. So now we have the presentation down there. We'll go over our work session, and then we'll have discussions on whether we want to raise fees at the rec center.
I've received, in connection to this, a couple complaints from two different individuals, not necessarily about the rate increase on the memberships, but more the increase on the green fees.
Okay.
Are these number of rounds at the bottom of this isn't just green fees, this is total number of rounds that have been played at
No.
the uni? This
That is
just
paid
green fees?
rounds.
Okay, so this
We
is,
we really have a difficult time with leagues, tournaments, accounting for the number of rounds. We believe we're about 20,000 rounds between leagues, tournaments, and then these numbers.
okay.
So, and these are our best guess per round, because you have $15 for the first 9 and then $7.50 for the second round. That's 2 rounds, but trying to differentiate that total cost. So what basically we do is we take the yearly revenue divided times $17.50, I believe is how we figured it out, to try to come up with our best guess of the rounds.
Do you have to be a member to be part of the league? If you're in a league, are you a member?
So, yeah, men's league, yes. I think each league kind of, there's a committee that kind of runs the leagues. We just provide the golf course
Okay.
and they determine a lot of times. I believe most of the leagues, except for maybe one, is required a membership. And a lot of times, if you're in I'm going to use the women's senior league, they know they're going to play 10 times a year. They got to prepay green fees for those 10 rounds. But other than that, most of them are members, yes.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? If not, I will seek a motion for the consideration and approval to waive the third reading of the ordinance to establish the golf course rates as of March 1st, 2016.
So moved. Second.
There's a motion and a second to waive the third reading. Haley?
Yes.
Fleshner?
Yes.
Bates? Yes. Cox?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Benami?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Motion to adopt the ordinance?
Second.
There's a motion to adopt the ordinance. Haley?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Cots?
Yes.
Benami?
Yes.
Fleshner?
Yes.
Base?
Yes.
All right, we will move on to resolutions. And our first resolution is the Merchants Park Baseball Stadium renovation. And it is 6:20, and I'll open a public hearing, I guess at 6:20. And Jack, did you want to talk?
Yes. In your memo, as I stated, the plans detail the Merchants Park Baseball Stadium renovation project 216. Specifications are the AIA documents with supplemental specifications. The form of contract is the AIA design form. Estimate of cost, $587,154. And there's 3 alternates being considered for this project. One is to upgrade to a high-performance coating on the exterior walls. And same thing on the inside where the bleachers are, the seats, using epoxy floor coating in the grandstand area. And then the third alternate would be expansion of the dugouts. So when we go out to bid, they will have their base bid, plus these 3 alternates that you will have a choice of selecting if you want to take those alternates. But we hope this goes out to bid tomorrow with a 3-week bidding time, and then they'll be presented back to you. We hope to have some construction this spring. Baseball season, there will be some minor disruptions through the baseball seasons, but once the baseball season's over, it's full boat ahead. So we anticipate a November completion date. Again, when we had the 2080 agreement with the volunteer help, that tremendously helped out. I know one of the contractors went through and specifically said that's going to save a lot of time for the contractors. So Mr. Bruner and put that together. That was a great idea, and it worked out really well.
Any other public comments?
Barry Bruner, as president of the Carroll Athletic Association, I want to thank you for your continued support of this project. I was a little disappointed in you tonight. I asked Jack to see if he'd take you and give a tour of the baseball stadium tonight when he was giving a tour of the rec center. He forgot his boots and gloves, so he
I didn't know we were going to do mountain climbing or not. So.
Yeah, I hope that snow is gone by the time construction begins.
Yeah.
So, thank you again very much.
Any other public comments? Any comments from the council? We'll close the public hearing at 6:23. And then I will need a motion for consideration and conduction of the, or a resolution adopting the plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimate of cost for the Merchants Park Baseball Stadium renovation project 2016.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Base?
Yes.
Fleshner?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Benami?
Yes.
Cots?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Then we will move on to the street resurfacing 2015 professional services agreement, and I believe Randy will discuss that.
Yes, sure will.
Thank you.
Back in November of 2014, there was an agreement between the city and JEO for design services for the 2015 street resurfacing project. As that project was being developed, we asked JEO to perform some additional services to create some additional resurfacing project. And those additional services are included as 2 amendments to the original agreement. The first amendment covers those services needed to develop the alley paving. That's the alley that's located between Simon and Crawford and 6th and 7th. That's the Family Resource Center alley that you had consented to a joint project with them. That project is estimated to cost just over $11,000, which will be rolled into a change order under that 2015 street resurfacing contract. The work did not get completed during the last summer construction season. It's scheduled for this upcoming construction season. The cost of that amendment is $2,630. The second amendment is proposed for preparing the Court Street from 4th to 7th for overlay this summer. That project was originally included in the 2015 street project, but as bids went, it was too expensive. It was more money than we had anticipated, so that portion of the project was deleted from the current contract. It's now included in your budget proposal to be completed during the next fiscal year. So these are the services, $3,800, that we anticipate needing to bring that project to a point of letting this spring. And it's anticipated to cost between $100,000 and $150,000. And we'd anticipate letting that after the letting of the High Ridge Road project, which is March of 2015. It's of the size that we cannot add it by change order to another contract, although we do have prices on all of the bid items, so it will be bid at that later on this spring. So unless there are any questions, I guess these amendments bring that original contract total to $122,730. And unless there are any questions, I'd recommend approval of the resolution approving the amendments to the street resurfacing design contract.
You've got hourly in there, so we'll probably have another amendment down the road. Is that what you're anticipating?
The hourly are for construction services originally approved, and we don't normally bring those back for additional approval. We have incurred a little bit of hourly cost during this past summer in construction, but it's not extensive at this point.
Okay. Any other questions for Randy?
No, I'd move that we approve amendments number 1 and number 2 to the street resurfacing 2015 professional services proposal.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Seaman?
Yes.
Fleischner?
Yes.
Cox?
Yes.
Base? Yes. Benami?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you. Finally, next resolution is a not to exceed $915,000 general obligation capital loan notes, Series 2016A, for the improvements to the weight room at the rec center and street improvements for the street rehab 2015 project and for the purchase of a street sweeper. Laura?
Yes, thank you. I'll talk about these next two resolutions together since they relate to the same debt issuance that we're working on. Due to the timing of when we were planning to adopt our budget and when we plan to actually accept bids on, interest rate bids on this debt issuance, it is such that we need to do what's called a pre-levy resolution to officially give us the authority to ask for the taxes on this debt issuance for fiscal 17. So the first resolution is that resolution, and we've already incorporated the roughly $273,215 for our fiscal 17 payment on this debt issuance into what we had talked about at our council work session, and is within the city's levy rate that was proposed at $11.57. Then the next item is the resolution approving what's called the electronic bidding procedures, or the ways that are acceptable to accept the interest rate bids, and also the official statement for the debt issuance. We are planning to receive bids on this on February 23rd, which is the date of your next council meeting, and then that information will be brought to you and presented to you that night. What you do with this resolution is approve the form in which you can accept those bids, as well as the official statement, which is that really long document that you have in here that talks a lot about what the actual debt issuance is for, what the repayment schedule is, what the city, how we've been doing with our taxable valuation, and on and on and on. And just a lot of good information about the city. This has been brought to light over the last few years and really pushed that council takes a look at and officially approves what's called the preliminary official statement. The SEC has made changes over the years stating that as the city council as well as city staff, that we need to make sure that we are presenting the information to prospective bidders, that it's as accurate as we know it is to be accurate, that we're not falsifying the information just to make it look better. I've worked with PFN, I've worked with Allers and Cooney. A lot of the information is either brought from another source, i.e. the county auditor, or information that is found online, the taxable valuations, as well as I have reviewed it and looked through everything to make sure it is accurate. But if there's anything that you guys would want to question or ask about to make sure it's accurate, please do so. So there are 2 resolutions tonight asking for separate motions on each one of them. Are there any questions about the items?
If it's for 3-year repayment,
Yes.
can you pay it off sooner?
No.
It has to be full 3 years?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that true in all cases?
No.
We have to.
No, I'm not sure where the break point is, but when you tend to have your shorter issuances, probably 5, 6, 7 or less, then usually there's not a window to repay it. But if you're doing 10 to 20 years, yes, there's usually an option for redemption, early redemption.
And that's where we've taken advantage of the opportunity to refund them. That's where that window comes in, and you
Yes.
can do the refunding.
And
You
we're
can't do
doing-
that unless it has an open date.
Right. And on
You
a
did that for
3-year
the Aquatic
issue-
Center, didn't you, Laura?
Yes,
Yes.
we recently did that for the Aquatic Center. That was a 20-year issuance. And typically with issuing debt, the longer you issue, the higher the interest rate. If you're only issuing for 3 years, you usually get a pretty low
A good
interest
rate.
rate with that.
So you need 2 resolutions with regards to the issuance and levying, and then the approval for the electronic bidding?
Yes, yep. The first one is to authorize the pre-levy resolution, which allows us to ask for those taxes in our fiscal 17 budget.
Any other questions for Laura? Seeing none, I'll request a motion for approval of the attached resolution authorizing the issuance of not to exceed $915,000 general obligation capital loan notes, Series 2016A, and for levying the tax of the payment thereof for the improvements to the weight room at the rec center and street improvements for the street rehab 2015 project and for the purchase of a street sweeper.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Cots? Manami?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Bates? Yes. Fleshner?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
And then we will need a motion to approve the electronic bidding procedures and the official statement.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Fleshner?
Yes.
Bates? Yes. Haley?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Manami?
Yes.
Cots?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you. Our final resolution is on the Carroll City Cemetery Maintenance Building and 3rd Street Storm Sewer Improvements Project. Laura, do you want to do this one, or?
Yes.
Randy, okay.
No, I'll do this one. First is a public hearing.
Oh, that's right. I got to open a public hearing at 6:34 with regards to the resolution on the city cemetery maintenance building and 3rd Street Storm Sewer Improvements Project.
Yes, thank you. Once again, this is an item that we've discussed at the last council meeting where council took action to set the public hearing. This is, in essence, kind of the first step in going through the process. The reason we're doing this now is that we would like to include the tax asking in our next year's fiscal 17 budget. So the first step is to hold the public hearing, which the notice of the public hearing was published in the Daily Times Herald on Thursday, January 28th, which is in accordance with the state code. And then next is the pre-levy resolution, so we can actually officially ask for those taxes. Let's see. The resolution will document the receipt of any oral or written objections to the issuance of the capital loan notes or this debt issuance, and nothing was filed in the office prior to tonight.
Any questions from the public for or against? Seeing none and hearing none, any further questions from the council? Again, seeing none, we will close the public hearing at 6:35. And we'll look for a motion for the council to consider an approval of the attached resolution instituting proceedings to take additional action for the issuance of not to exceed $1,220,000 general obligation capital loan notes, Series 2016B, for the purpose of paying the cost of construction of a cemetery maintenance building at the Carroll City Cemetery and the 3rd Street Storm Sewer Improvement Project.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Base?
Yes.
Fleshner?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Benami?
Yes.
Cots?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
And then do you need a resolution for the instituting or just for the authorizing?
It's all
Or
one and the
both?
same.
It's all one and the same. And we'll need a resolution for the institution proceedings to take additional action and authorizing the issuance and levy a tax for the payment thereof.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Fleshner?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Cots?
Yes.
Benami?
Yes.
Base?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you. It's the end of the resolutions. We will move to reports, and I think Jack has got the Recreation Center copier bid report.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. On January 28th, we received 8 bids from 7 different companies, and before you, you see the results of the bids. The apparent low bid was from Access Systems out of Waukee, home office out of Waukee, $8,154. The black and white copies was .005 cents, and color .04. But the specs went out that we asked for 3,250 copies to be able to run 3,250 copies. Generally, we had when we did the bid before, we had 2 cabinets of 500, and then there was one, I believe that was 11 by 17 that held 250, and a bottom tray that held 2,000. But after looking at it, our copier now does hold 4,000 sheets, our current one that we have. So we would have got by with 3,250. But the thing is that Access Systems, their bid, when we opened it, it looked like it was 3,100 copies, so they did not meet the bid specs. So that's why I was not recommending them. On the back side of the paper, you do see a more detailed breakdown that I would go over with you. Access Systems, their bid amount, $8,154, and everything said and done, their bid would have totaled, I got 84 months. We figured we'd keep the copier for 7 years, so 7 times 12 is 84. I did a 2-year analysis of how many copies per month we were making, and we averaged 4,700 per month. The color copies, the current printer copier is not color. We have a separate copier, just a laser jet that sits on the counter, and asking staff, and what I remember when I officed out of there, it was about 1,000 sheets a month that we would do out of that. We probably do at least that. Now we have hopefully a color copier. It's cheaper to run color prints out of the copier than the printer. So the one that, with using those outlines, those guidelines, the apparent low bid would be Executive Technologies at $15,810. They did meet the specs. Their total capacity is $4,250. They met all the requirements. So that would be my recommendation to you. There are 2 of the sales representatives here that I'm sure would like to say a word. So if that's okay, Mayor, can I step up. So, you want to go first?
Sure, have to. All right, well, thank you for allowing us to come in tonight. Eric's from council and I'm from Access. And I have, I know Jack said I have maximum of 5 minutes, I'll keep it under that. But I wanted to hand out some information about our bid, so I'll hand these up there. Thanks. No problem.
Jack, is the copier that you have now, is it also hooked up to a computer that you can print with it?
Yes, yep. Yeah, we print copies. We try to use that as much as possible. But the thing is, well, right now it's about 7 years old. We're doing more and more maintenance on it. And we would like to run 11 by 17 copies. Our option is right now we're to come up to City Hall or pay, Stones or someone to run those copies.
All right, well, thanks again for allowing us to speak tonight. I grew up on Randall Road near the golf course in town, near the Siemens, and I got a great childhood. I mean, I loved growing up here. If there wasn't snow on the ground, I was riding my bike to the rec center, practically grew up there, and so it's a great opportunity to be able to present tonight. And it really comes down to about 8 points I want to go over. And the first point is just to repeat what Jack said. There's only 22 specs that we had to meet to beat this copier. And we met every single one, and we were 95% of meeting the one spec that we didn't meet. Which means that my bid was for 3,100 sheets, Jack asked for 3,250, and so I was really, really close except for the 150 sheets. And that's what I'm going to be talking about tonight. The original bid on the original letter asked for 12,000 images a month. And that's because that's about what you've been averaging over about 8 years. If you take your whole volume, divide by how long you've had the unit. But like everything else, a lot of things are going paperless now. And so your volume is trending down. And it's going to continue to trend down because people are going to be doing more electronic images. Now the color will go up because people love printing in color. So that's going to continue to go up, but black and white will go down. And so point number 2 on my second sheet is that, and we have no problem accommodating the city's request to go from 12,000 images to 4,700. But that's a big change. That's about a 61% change in what you originally asked for in the bid. But we'll accommodate that. And so if we're willing to accommodate that change, I'm asking the city to look at accommodating my bid spec being off by 150 sheets. Point number 3 that I want to make is just, I wanted to lay out how our copiers look. Just so you have a point number 3, just so you can see exactly the bind I'm in as a representative. Is that I can put a tandem tray on there and I get to 3,100 sheets, which is very, very close to spec. To meet the spec, I got to add 3,500 sheets to the proposal. So now I'm at 6,600 sheets, and the spec was only asking for 3,250. Now I do have approval from our company, once again, because the specs are changing. They went from 12,000 to 4,700. I'm asking you, there's another alternative, to allow us for our bid price, because on the bid sheet it asks for a price of $81.54. I'm still within my $81.54, but I'm asking permission to give you 6,600 sheets. So now you're going from $42.50, which you have at the Carroll Rec Center now, up to 6,600. So you'll have a large capacity tray off to the right that will give you a lot more paper than what you have now. Point number 4 is that it's really minimal, the paper difference. Because what it comes down to is you're going to have to fill this paper tray, when it empties out, every 16.58 days versus 17.38. So this spec is not an essential spec. It's very, very minimal. It only comes into play when you're changing paper in the drawers. So if I do need to stay to the 3,100 sheets, we're talking about a very minor difference in how often you change the paper. Point number 5, other communities look at these bids very closely, and if they think a spec is vendor-specific or equipment-specific, they make it more open. For example, here's a school on point number 5 that exactly says, we are making revisions to our RFP because some of the requirements are vendor specific. We will send out a new one and extend the deadline to allow for more time because the spec was too vendor specific. Iowa Code 26.9, point number 6 on my sheet here, actually says, the award of contract says the contract for the public improvement must be awarded to the lowest responsible bidder. And I feel my 3,100 sheets is a responsible bid. And the person from executive is not here tonight, and so being here, being responsive to your needs, I think should carry some weight too. Point number 7, basically here's my case. City of Carroll. Everything brought up tonight has money attached to it. Use the $2,322 for something else. Don't give it to executive and pure profit. That's all you're doing, is giving them pure profit for $2,322. Use that for anything else in the city. Because that $3,100 versus $3,250 is not an essential piece. Or my other argument, once again, is that if you're going to change from 12,000 to 4,700, that's a big change. Allow me to add 6,600 sheets at my bid price at $8,154. And finally, I got a picture there of me growing up here in Carroll. It's like in second base for Carroll County State Bank. I'm proud and love this program, and I think this is in the best interest of the city. Any questions?
I see you have taken the initiative to engage our Chamber of Commerce. You're a member of the Chamber?
I am, yeah.
Thanks.
Anything you want to shoot? Come on up.
Thank you, everyone, for allowing me to come in and speak. Eric Ramsey with Council Office. We're based out of Harlan. I'd like to definitely ask the council to consider our proposal for the copier at the rec center. The proposal that we submitted, Jack and I spoke this afternoon, and it sounds like based off of the calculations over the 7-year period, our bid was about $90. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
About $90 over the spec that executive has submitted. With that, all the specs that were submitted, we did meet to what Jack had requested. And with that, we feel very confident we'll be able to serve the rec center the way that they need to be served as far as response times and everything. We currently do business with the city. The machine that's here in City Hall is with council, the rec center, the police department, the library, the Chamber of Commerce also does, we have all those pieces of equipment, Graphic Edge, Barnabakken. So we have people here in town on a daily basis. So if that machine would ever need assistance, there's somebody that's going to be really close. We have a guy that lives here in town. We also have another service guy that lives in West Side. So with the spec that was submitted and the closeness of that result and the business that we already have with the city, I would ask you to definitely consider our proposal for the rec center.
In fairness, I see you're also a member of our Chamber of Commerce.
I am.
Thank you also.
Yes. Any questions?
You said you had service available on a daily basis from someone located here in Carroll?
Yes, we have a service tech that lives here in town. We also have one that lives on the west side. And usually response times are less than 4 hours. And Laura, I don't know if they have this, the City Hall has the machine here as well, so.
How large areas do your technicians cover? And I guess I'll direct you first. That tech based out here in Carroll, you say 4 hours is the response time?
They usually cover about 2, depending on where the service calls are, but most of the time it's about a 3 to 4 county area.
Okay.
And then everybody, we have tech, like I said, here in Carroll and on the west side, and then the remainder of the guys are based out of Harlan, so about 55 minutes away.
And you, sir?
Yeah, our techs, our guy comes from Jefferson, and then we have another one in Fort Dodge that are close. We have 30 technicians for our company though, and so we got a lot of backup. And right now they're averaging a 2.3 hour response time, and we also have a lot of clients in Carroll. We have several pieces of equipment with the Carroll County, Kemper is a client, new opportunities, and so we have a lot of market share in town also.
Thank you both.
I guess I look at it too, I guess in all fairness, we had two here, and you've got all these, you know, would it be something that you would re-let back out again and redo the specs to accommodate for that or anything?
Can I ask a question first of David as to where we are on legality here? Can we make changes, or what can we do?
Well, I think you got a couple things to look at. We typically, there's reasons that we provide the different vendors with specifications. And as I understand the situation is the lowest bid did not meet all the specifications, and the 7 other bidders did. I think that's one thing that council needs to consider. Secondly, we have not made it a habit of negotiating with vendors or anybody else after the bids have been made. And I believe that's a consideration for council to consider too.
Say that again, David.
Well, you know, when the bids are presented to us, we do not and have not negotiated with a bidder. And I think that's what I hear happening here. You know, the lowest bidder that didn't meet the specs wants to negotiate the bid with us.
That's why I offered to, is it,
Right.
you know, to re-let the bid and change the specs? I mean, you could do something along that line. Or, I guess the other choice, if I'm not mistaken, would be you can take the next lowest bid that meets the specs.
Correct. Yeah. I think council's options are either reject all of them or accept the bid, the lowest bid that has met all the specs.
I'll just say I have heard from a couple people in town that work with council, and they have told me that they've had very good luck with them. So I did hear that this week, just on the table.
Did we, and I should know this and I apologize, I don't, we're looking at total cost over 7 years, right, Jack?
Mhm.
Did we bid for the bid amount, or did we bid for the expense over 7 years?
What we spec'd in the bid was bid amount and then black and white per sheet, maintenance, and color. So the bid sheet went out, total bid price, and then I had 2 lines, black and white per copy and color per copy.
Okay, counselor, advise us. Are we working off from the bid amount, or what are we working off from here? Because I'm a little confused and would like to understand that better.
Well, I guess I look up in here too, Glaze, it says it required a minimum of $32.50. And it looks like that's what's in the bid spec also.
I agree, Eric, with the specs. I'm 100% on board. I just want to know, is my lowest bid that meets spec the $10,056 or the $8,940, or do we look to the 7-year estimation? I guess I'm curious about that. Could you help us understand that better, please?
Jack, how did you determine?
The
high to
bid
low?
sheet went out, here it is. So I'm just using an M&M copy. That's the first one I grabbed. So bid sheet went out that says, City of Carroll, notice to bidders, the City of Carroll will be accepting sealed bids for the replacement of the copier at Carroll Recreation Center. We are currently averaging 12,000 copies per month, but this may increase to 15,000. The City of Carroll will accept sealed bids, attached proposal at the Office of Parks Rec Director. And then the copier will be delivered to the City of Carroll and with the address of the rec center, but it does say down here, and this is what they're alluding to a little bit. The city of Carroll reserves the right to reject any and all bids, waive any informality in bids unless otherwise specified by the bidder, accept any item in the bid. In case of errors in extension, all prices in the bid, unit price will govern. And then the description, which, fourth line down, minimum 3,250 sheets, paper capacity, and then different things, but it says total bid price, that'd be his bid price, and then maintenance. Full maintenance agreement will be cost per copy, 7 cents, 5 cents per color. An agreement shall include all but paper and staples. So you can kind of look at that.
So the total cost in here, Jack, is that an estimation that I assume?
That is an estimation. And what I did,
I see what you're looking at, Clay. I mean, when I look at the total cost versus bid amount, but they're still congruent. I mean, even though the bid amount in one was low, the total cost was still low. They were still all
Right.
same competitive type.
If I were to look at this and of the units that met spec, then I would say the lowest cost to own and operate based on our estimations is the unit from Executive Technologies at $15,810. If I was to look at who had, of those that met the spec, who had the lowest bid, then I see Council Office and Document at $89.40, or, there's nowhere, that's it. So I'm just trying to figure out which one's my low bid, Counselor.
And Jack, what are you suggesting is the second lowest bid?
it would be Executive Technologies. They're overall, between the 7-year average and the cost of the copier, they were the second lowest.
Who's the lowest then, Jack?
The lowest overall that is Executive Technology, that met the specs. The one, Access has the overall lowest cost, but they didn't meet the specs, and they're about $2,200 less overall.
We have in here that we're currently averaging 12,000 copies per month.
Yeah.
Where'd the two numbers come from? Because it looks like your numbers are calculated on 5,700.
4,700, yeah, 5,700.
Total.
That, we used to run our program book ourselves, so that really increased numbers of pages. We contract that out now, but our average of the last 2 years, I went to a year average, I went to the maintenance contract with Executive Technologies and looked each month how many they were charging us per copy. The $1,000 was our best guess, talking with staff of what we thought we were going to run in a month for color copies. That was the best guess. The 4,700, I took all those numbers, took a time, they're divided by 24, and it came up right at 4,700. So, and when we...
So my question would be is where's the 12,000 from? Where does that number come from?
That was from before, and now that we have color, we might look at
Bringing that
our
back.
program book
Okay.
in-house.
And the reason I ask that is because if we, great presentation on both your guys' parts, by the way, thank you for coming. But if we look at one like council, and if we're gonna jump from the 5,700 you have proposed here, and we're gonna jump up to the 12,000 copies, then that becomes a larger difference over those 2 years, or over those 7 years. So that's where my question comes in, is they're really close, but if we're gonna double, 2.5 times our output per month, we're gonna greatly separate those two bids.
I don't know if that
Good point.
is correct. How are you coming with?
Yeah, the more copies at the higher price,
Right.
the more the
Those more
spread
copies,
goes.
yeah.
Because you're at 45 and 4.5 instead of 4.
If you go to
4.5
12,000,
to 5, excuse me.
We're gonna be
Between
right.
executive and council, or?
Yes, between executive and council, yes.
You go, you're 7 cents on black and white, which is 2 cents, or excuse me, 7/10, which is 2 tenths more. And on the color, you are actually a half a cent more.
With council?
Correct.
Yeah, okay, I thought you were saying just the
No, no, no,
opposite.
no, no, no.
Okay, yeah.
So I guess where I stand on this is, Keith, I appreciate your presentation, it was very good. I just think especially if we rebid this after all the contractors have seen, all the bids, I think you open us up to a whole bunch of problems by doing that. And I think by negotiating with bidders, which we have traditionally not done, according to Dave, I just think we run into problems there, so I guess. And then with that, jumping up to 12,000 copies, I think we greatly separate by going to council versus executive. Now, I agree with Misty, and I have heard comments as well that people have said a lot of good things about council that use them in town. They didn't say anything negative about the other ones because they don't use them, obviously, but.
Does that price per color copy change based on, am I not reading it? Does that change? Yeah.
The proposal we submitted, first 3 years is locked in, so the same rate for the first 3 years. I'm not sure what you guys are looking at for sure, but the first 3 years are all the same, and then from there, it's based on the 10% average. And I can't speak for executive as far as what they're doing.
Yeah, it was similar. But,
I guess
I
my
just tried
question
to
is,
use a
do
standard
we make a
baseline.
decision on a fact, or do we make a decision on a possible?
You could relet the whole thing back out too.
We could. I do agree with Brandon, though. I don't think it's a great way to do business.
Yeah, it's just the next time around that you come through the bidding process, you might only get 2. There might be someone that might not, instead of having as many as you got, but.
Executive is who we're currently using.
Yep.
Okay, Counselor, you haven't answered my question yet.
And Clay, I don't know if I can. I guess I would defer to Jack on the analysis as to the price per copy and how he came up with the second lowest and the third lowest bid.
Again, all I was doing is I figured we'd have this copy or similar to what we have now, 7 years. So I was just trying to give you another level of analysis to say, the last 2 years, we've done 4,700 copies, and what they put in their bid, that's what the cost would be, times 7 over 7 years, to try to give you a final cost of a copier after 7 years. And like was mentioned by Eric, some of the companies will fluctuate year to year, but I figured they would fluctuate pretty close in the same percentage. 10% is kind of what I've heard from them all, that they would, and we had that even with executive copies. I saw a year ago it was 0.0015, which a lot of them, these prices have jumped up. And then next year, and this last year was 1.0015. So,
And that's 3 years that's contracted for.
I can't speak for each one of them without going back through each one. I tried to do the best I could to estimate.
It's okay, Jack, we can make buying a copy machine tough.
Yeah.
Can I follow up the comment?
Yes.
All right, thank you. No, I've been doing this a long time. I've been at this since '95, and I don't go to many city council meetings, so I'm just curious. Because as a council, you guys can decide on whatever you want. Am I right on that? You guys can decide on which bid you go if you have that authority. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, very good. All right. As a business person, you're lowering from 12,000 to 4,700 sheets. That's a huge spec. You're cutting your volume in half. That is a lot. I'm at 21 specs, 100%. I am 5% off on one spec. So I'm asking you, is that 150 sheets really that important? Because after this bid is over, if you don't accept my large capacity tray, 2 weeks from now, I can sell it to you for $1, and you still have 6,600 sheets. So I'm just asking for a discussion, because for me, I'm looking at the $2,300 for the taxpayers in Carroll and saying it's a home run. Because you're still getting the paper you need, you're getting the lowest price. And I agree with Mr. Benami, you don't want to rebid this, because I'm already low price. If we rebid it, I don't know if I'm low price again, so there's some integrity there. But I'm just looking forward to some discussion. I mean, if you were at Walmart, would you pay $2,300 more for a copier than 150 sheets for your business? If you were making a decision for your business?
Well, Keith, one of the issues that we run into is just the integrity that we have in bidding. And we run into this issue before,
Right.
and so we really stressed there's a reason that we put out bid specs.
Okay.
So that's the quandary that we're in.
All right.
There's a common sense side, and there's a practical way to do business.
And that's the debate, yeah.
And this is a decision we're able to make, but there's some policy issues that you're right, though, Gerald. It would be against our policy if we...
Your current policy directs that any items over 5,000, am I right, Jack?
Yeah.
Must go to bid, not quotes, bids. On quotes, you have an opportunity to do some things that you do not under bids. Under bids, you have to follow your specifications, or can you waive them, David? I'm not sure you can even waive them. Well, from integrity, you can't waive them. You have to stay with it.
You sure wouldn't want to go down that road.
No.
I wouldn't think the council would want to do that.
Any other discussion? Well, then I will look for a motion for consideration and approval of bid from Executive Technologies for the bid price of $10,056 plus a half-cent per black and white copy and half-cent color copy.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Seaman?
Yes.
Cots?
Yes.
Base?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Fleshner?
Yes.
Benami?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you. And we will move on to the second report, which is the annual council planning session. And Gerald?
I talked to Jeff Schott at the Institute of Public Affairs, of which we have been using for, I think, probably close to 10 years now, to do your facilitating for your planning sessions. And he would be available on all of the Saturdays in August, as I recall. I'd have to check with him again in the morning if we make a decision. But he is available. He does not typically do planning sessions on Saturday, although he does some. And he's been doing them here at Carroll for a long time on Saturdays. So if you wish to utilize the services of Jeff Schott again, I would ask you to determine one of those days, 6, 13, 20, or 27. And I did ask you to bring your calendars and be prepared to determine which one of those would be the best for all of you.
Gerald, a few years ago, we did like a 4-hour session, not on a Saturday. I can't remember what year, maybe you remember, it was just a couple of years ago. And we accomplished the same thing. And we were real efficient, and it seems like you know how we all fill out the forms, and then they're summarized and collated and everything. And we all go over them very thoroughly and know what's in there. And, you know, there's a lot of time. I've always felt like there's so much time summarizing what we've already read. And Jeff is trying to be thorough. He's very good. But, you know, I think we don't need to spend as much time on the summarizing. You know, we'll all go through the materials. We'll get right at it. Let's do more analyzing and less summarizing. And I thought it worked well. I think that was the only time we've ever done that. I think it was a 4-hour session on a weeknight, like a 5 to 9 or something.
I'm thinking maybe it was a 4 to 8.
Or 4 to 8, well, whatever. It was 4 hours, but it went, in my estimation, it went well. We seemed to get through the same amount of material in 4 hours and didn't take a Saturday of Jeff's or anybody else's I just thought it went well. Because we
That's
hit
a prerogative
it
for
that,
you to determine.
I would like to see us try it again unless everybody else would rather stick with the Saturday format. I just thought we were really efficient and worked hard and got to it and accomplished what we always do in the full-day format.
Yeah, because typically that Saturday, it could be 3 o'clock.
Yeah, we usually get
I-
done by 3:30.
To
but
me,
we're
the
there at
Saturday
8,
didn't
yeah.
matter, it was during the week. I still work, so for me, the Saturday was okay, I didn't mind that, but, I mean, I still wouldn't mind being done at noon on a Saturday, in 4 hours.
Well, that's
But-
an idea too. I
Yeah.
just think we can get everything accomplished we set out to do with Jeff, and we don't need to, if it's a 4-hour Saturday, but again, those are my thoughts.
So your preference would be to meet during the week instead of on a Saturday? Is that what you're saying?
I would do either one.
See, I
If
do
you
this
want
as
my
a
preference, yes, during the
You'd
week.
rather do it during the week?
Get it done during the week, even, I don't know, 5 to 9, 4:30 to 8:30, whatever. But if it doesn't work with the rest of your schedules, I understand that.
So I'll make a little tally, I'll put during week 1 and Saturday, that'd be me, 1. So,
I said
For
Saturday
4
would be better
hours.
for myself too, but I do, like you said, there is, some redundancy there, so I think that we could streamline anything. Saturday would work best for me.
2.
I don't have objection to either one. Saturday is fine. Which do you want?
Either one you want.
If I were to pick,
Pick one.
you want me to pick one, I'll pick Saturday.
Well, that's 3.
Saturday.
That's 4. I think we're pretty much done there at that point.
I think that's the.
But I think we could try and get the summary done, so we're done by noon. Maybe we could talk to him, so we're done in 4 hours.
I will let you chat with him.
Okay, I'll talk to him. You really want, he probably won't come if I talk to him.
No, that's not a problem. But I would let you talk to him about that.
All right.
Because he will be talking to you about development.
But I think his preference is during the week also, but, okay.
But he gets paid for the week.
Oh,
I've always been sensitive to what I thought was the desires of the council, which has been Saturdays for quite a while. We did have one, I
Yeah,
don't
I
remember
thought
when
it went
was,
really well.
but we had one that started in the early afternoon, I think 4 o'clock, but I'm not sure.
it was always
Could have
Saturday since I've been on, and Mike, you and I have been on the same amount of time. And so I know it's
I remember
Saturdays.
We did one during the week since I've been here.
Yeah,
So if you were.
Did that go well? I mean,
I don't know, I thought so.
So,
I
okay.
thought so.
So if you settle on a Saturday, then which Saturday would be the best for you?
What were your dates again?
Yeah,
They're Saturday, 6, 13, 20, and 27.
I'm open all 4.
Carol Fest, was that?
It's the first week.
That'll be the first on the 6th?
6th, yeah.
Okay, that takes care of that one.
Selfishly, the rivalry cup is the 13th, so.
I'm sorry?
Oh.
The rivalry cup at the country club.
Oh,
13.
13.
Okay, so we
Okay.
scratch out 13. So which one, 20 or 27?
27
27's better for me also.
I would agree.
till.
Everybody on 27?
Don't even get food.
I won't have a voice on the 27th if there's a football game on the 26th. But I can do the 27th. I think I had to do that the last time.
Well, that shortened the meeting.
Either
too.
one.
It may shorten the meeting too.
We can do it.
20th or 27th?
Then I would ask,
27th?
I would ask you to
27th.
approve
Will there be a
August
game that
27th.
Will there be a game that early? 26th?
A lot of times that's week 1. 'cause
Yeah, last Friday in August.
Yeah.
You don't know yet.
Well, it was last
It
year.
was last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first Friday.
Was that week 1 or week 0? Seems like it was week 0.
That was week 1. Week
Okay.
0 was the week before.
Okay.
Well, you would know too, I mean.
I don't know yet, because
Yeah.
they haven't said it, but
I looked
if
at
it's
it.
week 0, you may or you may, you still don't, you might have a game either way.
Right.
So,
I just know 3A goes week 1. So I would know, I know at the end of that it would be, and I think Kemper would go.
I would prefer the one where Eric has less voice there on the 27th.
All right.
Just kidding, either one's fine.
If you need a second
27th will work. If everyone over there prefers the 27th, that's fine with me. And you guys, you prefer it too, so. Now, do we have to make a motion to include being done by noon, or no?
Well. I would seek a motion to approve August 27th for the annual council planning session led by Jeff Schott, Institute of Public Affairs, University of Iowa.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Seaman?
Yes.
Base? Yes. Cox?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Benami?
Yes.
Fleischner?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you. Thank you. I have no comments this evening because we're going to keep right on moving. Any comments from the council? Seeing none, we're going to go into our work session. And we will start with the Recreation Center Work Session Project, ADA Compliance Survey Final Report.
You want to take a break for something to drink and a cookie?
Oh,
We have
yeah.
cookies.
Sorry, Keith. Didn't realize we had snacks.
We're going to pass them around if you want to.
Yeah, let's
Oh,
just keep
go ahead.
going.
Okay.
We don't
You
need
tell
a
us what
break.
you want.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't need a break, I just need water.
I bring that good stick with coffee.
Water?
Get a soft drink. Any of this left?
Looks like it was from last night.
More baked.
I know. Thank you.
She's got really nice cookies.
She does that
She doesn't professionally.
I'm tempted to go
You're not going to waste our good time right here.
They are. I believe you.
That's right. I'm sure
Should we put a cookie out for Doc? Doc, you want cookies?
You don't need to worry.
Which one?
I always eat a little something.
Is it all right if I touch it?
Like trail mix or something, so I never.
Here, get a napkin and just take it out of there.
There you go.
We're keeping the sugar cookies on this side? Not very long.
I'll wrestle.
That would be someone over there. Thank you. You don't get those, bud.
No.
One of these two?
Take one of each.
You take one of each. I'll carry them on.
David's napkins right there in the cups.
Yours choice.
Well, there we go. Thanks, Laura.
And again, I just open up with a quick message. This is something that the council did ask for last year. Wanted to kind of see where, we did the facilities assessment where we had the report on the heating, cooling, all that equipment basically upstairs, and a plan in place when we go through replacing things. This is now with the ADA compliance. You walk in the rec, you just see a lot of open space, you think you're ADA compliant, but there were a few deficiencies, and Ron is going to go over that with everyone.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you for having me. The report is nearly 200 pages long, and I'm not going to go through that tonight with you folks. I don't think that's the intent here, so I'm going to try to hit the highlights, kind of explain what all was involved in it. Get started here. You guys have a copy of this, if you can't see my screen.
Does everyone have their copies? Yep.
I'm gonna kind of briefly go through some of the background, but basically what is ADA? American with Disabilities Act is a civil rights law for persons with disabilities that was built on the principles of equality, or equal opportunity, full participation, independent living, and economic self-sufficiency. Currently, we're under the 2010 ADA guidelines, and that's what the survey was based on. So that's our current ADA code. ADA calls for non-discrimination against Americans with disabilities in 5 areas. And the Carroll Rec Center, we feel, falls under Title II, which is state and local government. Title II of the ADA covers programs, activities, and services of public entities, which include any state or local government, and any departments, agencies, or other entities. According to the ADA requirements, all public entities, regardless of size, must have a self-evaluation, provide or notice of ADA requirements, and if the public entity has 50 or more employees, and I'm not sure, Carroll certainly has more than 50 employees.
Oh, yeah.
You're supposed to have a designated ADA coordinator to oversee Title II compliance.
I think we do, but he's not here tonight.
Okay.
We'll tell him in the morning. Good catch. Yes.
So anyway, this person or whatever is supposed to develop a grievance procedure and prepare a transition plan to bring facilities and programs, services into compliance with Title II. This slide basically states that under Title II, the programs that are offered have to be accessible. The building does not, if the program can be done or provided in another building, that is accessible. So, for example, the Carroll Rec Center had provided or offered a class for crafts, and say the building was a two-story building, and that particular program or class was offered on the second floor, which is not accessible. And there was no other place in the building to do it, or maybe could be done at City Hall, which is accessible, then you qualify. So it's the programs that are accessible that need to be accessible. And for your viewing pleasure, if there's any websites you'd like to do some research on your own, we've added those to this presentation as well. So more specifically, to the Carroll Rec Center, under the existing conditions of the Rec Center, the report, when we did this, we basically started outside the building in the parking lot and worked our way in and went room by room, and that's what's all in the report. But like I said, I'm going to talk about more of the more common discrepancies or deficiencies in the building. And the more common ones are the approach and entrance doors, signage, restrooms, and protruding objects. And I'll go into those in a little more detail. So under approach and
Before you go any further, can I ask you this 2010 date? Does that change on a regular basis, like every 5 years? Do they re-evaluate this, or is there a time frame where, like what you're reporting to us, let's say next year, could it change, or we have no idea?
It's possible, but no, there is no regular schedule, and that's kind of like the International Building Code. There's no regular schedule either. The state of Iowa currently has adopted the 2009, or is currently has adopted the 2009 IBC, and now sometime here shortly they're going to adopt the 2015 IBC, so it's jumped 6 years. Before 2009 there was a 2006 and a 2003, so there's no regularity to it at all. But there's usually pretty subtle differences from one to the next, though.
Right. We run into this with the ADA compliant sidewalks quite a bit, don't we?
Yes, we did, and we suffered through changes during that until they got to the point where that is now. And it doesn't appear, it's kind of in the same situation now. There's not continual change happening, at least at the current time.
So again, starting out in the parking lot, as it says here, there's less accessible parking spaces than required per the ADA requirements. That's not a big deal. Sometimes that's just restriping and adding more ADA stalls. Parking space has more than a 1 in 48 slope. That would be a bigger deal to fix. And specifically on the east entrance, which is your main entrance, the path to the front doors is steeper than 1 in 20.
That's a west entrance.
The west, I'm sorry. The east entrance currently meets the slope requirements, but there's some gaps in the pavement. And this illustration here shows space or gaps in concrete, or whatever surface it may be, that has a maximum gap, that the idea is that if a person's in a wheelchair, you don't want to get a wheel stuck in a crack or a joint in paving. The east entrance, south entrance, really, the slope is fine, but they could be made, they don't comply because of these gaps in the pavement. And that's really just kind of a maintenance thing. Maybe it's a matter of putting some expansion joint material in there and caulking it. Or maybe there's a few panels that need to be removed and replaced, those kind of things. So those aren't probably not the end of the world there. Like I said, the west entrance is too steep.
Ron, you got less accessible parking space than required. Did you include both the east and west entrance together?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
It's basically the code that you have, and I don't know if there's a chart, but basically if you have 150 spaces on the west side, so many of those have to be accessible. If you have so many spaces on the east side, you have to have so many of those are accessible. It's not
total.
It's not total.
From total of all parking.
Right.
Okay.
Like I said, the east and south comply except some minor changes. West is too steep. Now, if that approach became a ramp can be steeper than but what a ramp requires is railings. So there's trade-offs there. The north entrance isn't compliant and really can't become compliant because it's got a set of stairs just inside the door, so there's no reason to even discuss that one. One of the requirements also is a minimum of 60% of your entrance have to be accessible. Well, as it works out, with your new entrance to the north of the weight room addition, which will be accessible, that gets you right at 60% of your entrances will comply with some minor repairs. So that west entrance wouldn't have to be accessible.
Please.
Although you'd want it to, because it's your main entrance, but it doesn't, you meet the criteria.
So the entrance doesn't have to be, only 60% of the entrances, but we still have to have the parking spaces, even if that entrance is not.
That's good, yeah, that's a good question. And what you would have to do then, there'd be some directional signage to say, well, go around to one of those other doors.
So then on that north entrance, if we have to have that, will we have to have handicap accessible on that one also?
There'd have to be some parking over there.
Okay.
Now, technically, there isn't any parking on the north side, is there?
There's a little bit east of that door.
Okay.
There's a few
You
spots.
might have to stripe something over there.
Yeah.
So many feet from the door also, doesn't it?
They like to have it as close as possible, you know, but I don't know exactly what that dimension is, to be honest with you. Okay, so that kind of gets us to the inside the doors. Now, the vestibules, again, there's a requirement. They're currently about 40 inches between the outside set of doors and the inside set of doors. 48 is a minimum. Now, it might be as simple as taking that inside set of doors and moving them further in 8 inches. Now, this may not be quite that simple, depending on if there's electrical in the wall or what happens when that frame moves, what's behind it, and things like that. But that might be something that's doable as well. And that's true on the west and east and the south, because that's got a vestibule too. The building was built under that current code. Unfortunately, that code is non-existent anymore. The other thing is doors. The building is pretty much, kind of the photo on the right shows a doorknob. The building is pretty much all those types of doorknobs. What you need now, according to ADA, is lever action, a lever type door. The idea is that a person that's handicapped in some way, they're not supposed to be able to have to grab and squeeze and twist. Where a lever, you can pretty much hit it with your wrist and just push it down. You don't really have to grasp it. So that's why a lever complies and a doorknob, a round doorknob, does not. When we did the family changing rooms, those have lever doorknobs on it, so they do comply. There's several doors in the building that have closers that close too fast. There's a certain time how fast they can close. I'm sure the idea behind that is that if you're in a wheelchair and you get the door open, you don't want it slamming shut on you. And same thing with operating force. Some of those are too high too. There's like 5 pounds of pull. With the person in a wheelchair, anything exceeds that doesn't comply. Now, the fix to that is those closers are adjustable. That can help that, slow it down, and also address how much pull it takes to open the door. And if it doesn't adjust to those requirements, maybe you need to have a new closer. But again, not a huge expense. The other thing about a door hardware is probably something that Andy could switch out, you know? So not a huge expense for you.
Hey Ron, how tight are those specs? I know it's like one of the doors is 5 pounds and 2 ounces. Is that, I mean, do you have to tweak them down to that 5 pounds or less exactly, or just out of curiosity?
Well, only if somebody actually comes up and tests it. We actually used a fish scale is what we used. The other interesting thing about door closers, depending on temperature and outside air temperature on an exterior door, it all affects door closers. So it's almost seasonal, which makes it very difficult, obviously. But I would think but to answer your question, there is no range. It doesn't say in the code 4 to 6 pounds. It says 5 is the maximum. So technically, it's over the amount. Right.
Okay. That was a calibrated fish scale, right?
Right from Walmart.
By Frayville.
As good as that is. Okay. So that's the doors. Signage. Signage, obviously, all the signage in the building was installed back in the early 70s or late 70s, I guess it was. So none of that's really compliant. Signage has to be mounted in the right location. It has to have raised characters. It has to have braille, so people with vision impaired, they can find their way through the building. Again, that's something, again, that can be, maintenance people can do that with some guidance from a design professional as to what the mounting heights are and what it should say. And there's with signage, you have to have a certain contrast between colors. So people with certain vision impairments, they can see it.
That's something you can recommend to us
Yeah.
through your Des Moines? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
To do that. Other signage is directional signage. Kind of like I was talking earlier, if this particular entrance is not accessible and you have to give somebody directions to another entrance to get into, those are the kind of directional signage you would have. Once you're in the building, if this particular bathroom is not accessible, but you can direct them through signage to one that is, those are the kind of directional signage you need, as well as exits and that sort of thing. Restrooms. The handicap accessible stalls, kind of like Jack was talking earlier when we were over there doing our tour. Really, the only ones in the building that are accessible are the new family changing rooms. Those have accessible toilets and also accessible shower stalls. Pretty much everything else in the building doesn't comply with that 5-foot turning radius. Now, what you do have, though, you have some stalls that are 3 foot wide and have grab bars on them. And under today's standards, those are called ambulatory stalls. Ambulatory basically means anybody that has some kind of physical impairment that can't sit very well or needs help getting up, that's what the grab bars are for. And the person that I was going to bring with me tonight, she's actually our ADA guru in the office. She's gone to a lot of seminars and she has a real passion for it. She went to a seminar last fall and they talked about this in the seminar. In your situation, since you do have these ambulatory stalls and you also have some ADA compliant stalls, with some directional signage, you could direct somebody to an actual ADA stall, so you wouldn't necessarily have to go out in there and change all your other toilets to this configuration here. And although during that seminar she said there was a lot of grumblings from people that were in wheelchairs at that seminar, the instructor said technically that would work. I would recommend, though, that anything you build new, you would make that the proper dimensions. But that would be a way for you to work through this transition period on those toilets.
Ron, the entrances to those restrooms that we currently have that we toured, those entrances are compliant? In order for a wheelchair to get into the locker rooms?
I'm glad you brought that up, because, no, not all of them are.
Okay.
There's certain dimensions on the latch side of the door that has to be a certain dimension that you don't have.
I
But
look
technically,
at,
like I say, with some directional signage to the family changing rooms, or if we do remodel the locker rooms, or if your new addition with your pool area that requires some more toilet space, those being compliant, though you would.
You'd have to do something with that.
But you're right, you're absolutely right. Some of those doors into some of those bathrooms there's not enough clearance there to.
Well, I'm just, in the entrance into the locker rooms, to try and get a
Yeah.
wheelchair into those two doors.
There's virtually no space on either side of the door frame.
Right.
There's no, button to open it up for them. They gotta try to push that open. Those are some of the heaviest doors in our building. So.
Other things that we noticed in the bathrooms is sinks don't have drain pipe covers. Again, a simple thing for a maintenance staff to put on, but the drain pipes are supposed to have an insulated cover over them. And the idea behind that is that if the hot water goes down the drain and somebody in wheelchairs got their legs slid up underneath that sink, they could burn their leg. So that's what the sink drain pipe covers are for. Mirrors are mounted too high. You can see in that photo right there, a person sitting in a wheelchair couldn't see themselves in the mirror. Again, that's kind of a simple one. You either lower it down, or you buy a new mirror that's taller so that you can lower it down, so a person standing in front of it can see themselves as well. Items that are mounted on the wall, like soap dispensers, paper towel dispensers. There's required reach ranges, whether a person's facing the wall in a wheelchair or they're a side reach like this. And right now, those don't all comply.
I got a question for you. And I've noticed this in some areas. They'll have the wheelchair accessible stuff for washing your hands, get the soap dispenser. But if I have someone that's standing erect and uses crutches, but they have a bad back, they have to bend over to get to the soap dispenser. How do you accommodate for those two? Or getting a towel, a hand towel. If they're up too high for someone that's standing erect, but then if they're put them down to where the wheelchair level, the guy with the bad back can't bend down to get them. How do you compromise? You buy two?
That's a good question. And I don't know if I know the correct answer for
okay.
that. Because typically we mount them to those requirements right there.
Right there, okay.
For somebody in a wheelchair. But they could be too low for a guy with a bad back.
Right. Or a woman. It doesn't have to be a guy, but an individual that has a bad back can't
Seems
bend
to me
over.
you do it like a high-low drinking fountain. Where
Yeah.
one's a standard height and another one's lower.
It's not an easy fix, but, you're one on the right, you lower that sink, you lower the mirror, and then you'd have another dispenser off to the right.
So you'd have two dispensers
Yeah.
then?
Yeah.
So you're, okay.
And I don't think the sink is the wrong height at all. I think it's just, in that case, it's just the mirrors and the paper towel
Okay.
and soap dispenser. Soap dispenser is probably fine. It's probably just the paper towel dispenser is not right.
Okay.
So you could lower one mirror
Yeah. That's true.
down
You
and
could do
have
that
one
too.
high mirror?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you could do that.
What about, I've seen restrooms that have only air dryers and no paper towels. Is that legal?
Yeah, as long as that push button
As long as it's
is at
close
the right
enough, or
reach
the right
range.
height.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, you can do that. Protruding objects, there's requirements on that. And the image kind of shows if something's mounted on the wall above 27 inches off the floor, it can only protrude out into the hallway or the room 4 inches. And as you can see the person with the cane, the idea there is that they won't hit the cane before they'll run into it. the little object on the right, lower, but it sticks out further in the room. That actually does comply because they'll catch it with that cane before they actually run into it. So that's kind of the gist of the code. Where you have deficiencies is, as you can see on the right, that's actually just outside the office. The easy fix to that counter would be put some kind of a skirting from the countertop down to below 27 inches above the floor, where a person with a cane would hit that first before they'd actually run into the counter.
Okay.
The drinking fountains, although they're handicap accessible, they protrude into the space more than 4 inches. There is, that you can buy from the manufacturer, skirting there that will basically extend it lower so that then it will become compliant as well.
Yeah, we just put those in.
Typically, on a newer building, what we'll do is we'll recess those back so they don't protrude out in a corridor.
So then what do you do with the little step stool there for the kids to reach the soap sanitizer? Well, obviously the cane's gonna hit that, but,
Probably just get rid of
To the
this.
left.
I don't know.
okay.
I guess I don't know what you do with that
Hit a
one.
step.
Maybe it's not 4
But then
inches, maybe it's less than 4 inches deep.
The sanitizer thing would probably have to come down to accommodate for the wheelchair though, too.
Looks like it's a little high.
Who installed that stuff?
So then,
Yeah.
some other items, we were in the theater today when Jack did give a tour, so there's no handicap seating in there. There's handicap seating with a companion seat is required, and not just in the back row, but you have to have the ability to sit pretty much kind of where they want. So you could have some in the back row, but you'd have to have some maybe in the front row as well. So that's one of the deficiencies there. There's also access to the stage from the seating area. There's no ramp, there's no chair left. That might not be the easiest thing to fix there.
Yeah, you'd have to have a ramp with a railing.
Typically on a new building, we'd have a ramp, or we'd have or backstage somewhere, there would be a chair lift or something like that to get you up to stage height.
Well, there's that
We have
back
the
hall
entrance on
there.
the west side.
Yeah.
That door is at stage level.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
You could get through that way, couldn't you?
Mhm.
I don't know how wide the door is, but
You have to be 3 foot wide.
Oh, it's
More
more
than
than
3
3
foot,
foot.
3 foot wide.
Yeah, it's more than 3 feet wide.
So, yeah. Good eye.
Doesn't matter where just because it's not in the theater. it can be
You
to the
not
side
away
of
from the
theater.
seats to the
There have
stage.
to be
yeah.
direction finding signs.
Direction finding.
I think that would get you there. I think that would work. Obviously, we're doing a new building now, because they're not supposed to have to go out of, the people that are handicapped are not supposed to have to be treated any way different than anybody else. One thing we noticed about the carpet, there was some, just because of its age, there's some wrinkles and stuff.
Okay.
That might be more than a half-inch high that could cause some wheelchair issues.
Okay.
There's some thresholds that doors are also higher than a half-inch.
that's to prevent your wheelchair from running away on the downslope. Because that has a slope to it.
It does. It does. The entry area from the pool to that exterior patio, that's that image on the right, lower right. That's a door there, and that bottom rail of that door is supposed to be 10 inches tall. And the idea there, although I can't quite envision this, but this is in the code. If somebody were in a wheelchair would open that door and they would wheel out, and if their wheel got up on that little lip here, it could cause a rollover situation in a wheelchair. Typically, in new doors, you can either be about 10 inches or 12 inches, or you can be higher than that too.
Okay.
Entry into the pool, you have lifts now.
Yep.
Those are good. The stairs into the pool, the handrails are too high.
We bought those.
According to our measurements.
Okay. Yeah.
Might want to re-verify that.
Okay.
Sauna, don't think that's accessible.
No.
Vending machines, it's just that reach range thing again.
Okay.
And that'd be a matter of getting a hold of your vendor.
Okay.
And I'm assuming that they're provided by the community guy.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So there
Yep.
should be some accessible vending
Okay.
machines. Let's see, what else we got? We got a few other items. Service counter in the main quarter there, that's not compliant because it doesn't have, it needs to have a section that's lower.
Okay.
So a person in a wheelchair can pull up, and it's 30 inches high. That's 42 or something like that.
Okay.
Showers, except for the ones in the family changing room, are compliant. Locker rooms, the benches are certain sections of it are supposed to have backrests on them. Again, we're kind of getting into minor things, I think. Kitchen in the meeting room, none of that's really compliant. Stair and handrail configurations. She was the only stair I can think of was the one out of the north, that north door.
Yeah. Yeah, that's.
And then we talked a little bit about out of reach range objects. I guess in closing, this is my opinion. You don't have to fix all this stuff right now. I think the intent of the code though is if you had a plan, a timeline, and a prioritized list of how you want to, or how you can achieve some of these things, I think that is what you would want to do. And so if someone in a wheelchair comes in and says, I can't get in the building, or I can't do something, you can at least show, I've got, here's our book, and here's our list of, and our timeline on how we want to approach it, how we're approaching this, and this is some of the stuff that we've completed so far. I'm not an attorney. I don't know if that would keep you out of trouble from a legal standpoint or not, but I think it shows good effort, honest effort, and putting your best foot forward. So that's pretty much, again, the highlights of the survey.
So I've got two questions. I remember reading something in the survey that I think is in the women's shower facility, that some of the benches were on the wrong side of the wall. All that.
Oh, yeah, I kind of do. I think it had to do with the fact they were on the right side of the wall where the grab bars are at.
Is that, okay. I didn't get the gist of what the details were on that. The other question I had is, did you do any surveying in like the weight room and all that?
We did. And without looking into it in detail, basically just clear spaces in between some of the equipment. And that would be just a matter of sliding some things around to make it work.
Yeah, Jack, that came up as a question. I have a friend that's wheelchair bound, and he and I were speaking this weekend about it. And he used the rec center quite a bit, and that's one of the issues he has is going from his wheelchair to the equipment.
Yeah.
And his wheelchair usually has to sit in the aisle and such. And so
Yeah.
I didn't know if we'd run into that before. If that's something you guys are familiar with. Or.
And then so maybe with your expansion, maybe you could get some spacing between some of the equipment.
Right.
So a person can get between it in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
And that's what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now there's going to be 2015 guidelines, correct?
No, that was the IBC, that's an International Building Code.
Okay.
This is the 2010 ADA. They're two different codes, but what I said that for is because that was an example of how often codes change.
Okay.
It's very irregular. It's a legislature deal where they decide.
And I guess what Randy had brought up, we were going through the same process. We would get some sidewalks brought up to code, and then we wait, and then we do another set of sidewalks. But then we had to change because the code changed, we had to go back and redo sidewalks we had just done. And so I don't want us to get into a quandary that if we've got a book and we've got this timeline, if we don't get things done before they change them, do we have to go back and change everything that we'd already changed? You get into a circle of futility after a
There ought to be
while.
a grandfather clause, shouldn't there?
Yeah.
I don't know if I can answer your question, Vance.
Okay.
I think if you had your timeline set up and of course, you guys aren't gonna be probably tuned into it, but we would, of course, because we deal with this every day. But if there's gonna be a code change, you might wanna, we probably need to consider what your next thing is you're gonna do. Make sure that you're not doing something that is gonna end up changing, if that makes sense.
Right. I mean, I think to go through and change all this at one time would be probably a little much that we're gonna, a little
Right.
much to do. So if you do, you know, try and get a fourth of it done, how much do you afford to try and get done? So that 2-3 years down the road, now we're in our 4th year, and what we just did 3 years ago, we gotta go back and change because something's off just a little bit.
When those codes come out, are they instantaneous, or is there a comment period? Is there any that we potentially could know about something previous to doing it? Or do they-
It's usually, I guess, announced that it's going to be under consideration, the next code, and then it's a matter of legislation actually passing it, or if they don't. When we design something, this kind of answers maybe your question, Eric, too, maybe more closely. Depending on what code's current, that's the one we design to, you know, and at the day of bidding, if we've designed to that code, and if the next day they've passed legislation to the next code, we're still okay. We're still building this building or whatever to that particular code that it was. So that really should comply, that should really follow what you were just talking about, where you fixed it under this code, just because the code changes, you shouldn't have to go back and fix it.
Change anything, even though you're changing as you go along. If you don't get it all done at once.
And that's my opinion.
Okay.
And I know that's
It's
what.
kind of similar with the electrical code, that changes every 3 years. It's basically a starting point, and I would assume that's what it is as well.
But if I do a remodel and something's not up to code, then that has to be,
Yeah.
that
At
has
some
to be
point, we'll
run,
get into that at the
run back, correct.
Aquatic center was, yeah,
Right.
bringing things current. So.
Correct.
I would think if we're working with someone like you, though, you kind of know what's coming, and you would be able to get us on track with what we can do quickly here with who we have, so that we're not doing things that are going to change soon. You would know what's coming.
Yeah.
Let's wait on that, because there might be something changing.
Exactly,
So,
yeah.
to work with someone who's privy to it, we can.
And I know working with existing buildings under the existing building code and stuff like that, there's certain points when you're required to bring the building up to current code, and it's based on how much you're changing, how much you're remodeling. Certain,
It's 51%, isn't it?
well, and then it talks about, you know, first of all, step one, is it just cosmetic? You know, is it just carpet, ceilings, and walls? Well, then you don't. If you're putting a new door opening in this wall, if you start changing structure or more extensive type things like that, then it can trigger you getting.
I guess what got me was when you talked about the seating in the theater, you'd have to overhaul the whole seating arrangement, because most of those seats in there are several units across.
Yeah.
There's 4 or 8 units, and if you can't just take one chair out.
No,
you'd have to reconfigure them.
Take a section.
Yeah. And then, like you said, they have to be able to sit scattered throughout. So I mean, you're looking at reconfiguring that whole theater. And the other big thing I saw was concrete work. You have to adjust the slopes for the parking lot. I think otherwise everything else looked like it was fairly feasible.
Yeah, that west entrance, because the floor level was here and the parking lot's
level was
here,
down low,
and you
yeah.
only got so much distance. You gotta make it up somewhere. You're not gonna go out and raise the parking lot up so that it's flatter.
You're gonna lower the building.
You're not gonna lower the building, right. So that's,
You do show a design in our master plan that kind of.
You'd have to probably have a ramp, of
yeah,
some sort.
you do a little switchback.
Switchback.
Or like you say, or you put railings in, because then you can be steeper if you have railings. But
Okay.
they're kind of a pain. the switchback would probably be the way to do that. The most cost-effective way to do that.
Okay.
Anything else with that?
You want to do family changing rooms next, Jack?
Yeah. I'll here real quick.
Yeah.
Yep. You want to close it?
You keep that. Exit out of that. Open forward or something. Okay. My interior designer's from Des Moines. She's the one that actually did a lot of design work, and she came out and met with Jack and some of his people, and as we went through this design process, she got a little afraid of the weather today, so she didn't come up, so I'm gonna try to do the same thing that she would have done. Excuse me. Okay, this is the existing configuration of the men's and boys is on the left of the screen, and the women's and the girls are on the right of the screen. So that's existing conditions that you see there. And you can see some photos down below. And you guys were all in there today, so you kind of got a feel for what it looks like. Here's a shot of the some of the proposed finishes, and also proposed lockers, in the locker rooms. Ceramic tile for the floors, some new paint, obviously, new ceilings, accent wall tile. All the lockers that you'll see in the plan are double tier in that kind of configuration. So this is the new layout of the men's on the left and the females on the right. The design basically is a complete gut or complete demolition of the existing. Everything within the perimeter of the old perimeter is going to be removed. Floors, walls, ceilings, the entrance doors, because like we talked earlier, they're not ADA compliant. And again, this is the new layout that you see on both. Because of the new shower locations and toilet fixtures and sink locations, that's why we have to tear up all the floors to make that work. But in the men's side, come in the door, right around the corner is 2 labs, you got 2 urinals and some toilets, and then around this corner there's bench and lockers above. So bench seating right out front of the lockers, more lockers through this area here. And then when you get over to this far corner, this is showers, individual showers rather than the gang showers you have now. This would be the ADA compliant shower area here. And then each shower has kind of a shower area with a curtain, and then a dry off area with a bench and another curtain. So people can go in there, take their clothes in there, and actually change in that area if they'd like. And then around the corner in the boys' side, very similar layout with come in the door and 2 labs, your urinals and toilets through here, locker space back around here with benches, and then more showers over in this area here.
Which side are the benches on? Or the backs? The backs to the benches, you said something about backs on the benches?
Yeah.
Will the lockers serve as a
bench
back,
or a backrest?
Back or a bench, yeah.
I'm going to study that a little bit more, but I hope so.
Okay. Because I didn't see any benches with backs. I don't know how you get into some of them. If you had backs along some of them, how'd you get to the bench?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. We'll have to study that a little closer and make sure that we're compliant there.
If you'd have to pull the benches away
Out away from the lockers.
Yeah.
And maybe we do just in a few of them. They don't all have to have backs on them, but a few of them have to. So then we got down here, we got the locker counts. On the men's side, we've got 140. Boys have 106, for a total of 246 lockers. And I think that exceeds your current count, right,
Yep.
Jack?
Yes.
And over here on the women's, on the girls' side, you come in the door here, and then lockers in this area. And then this is where Jack was kind of talking about when we were over there doing the tour, where we've got toilets facing each other with a kind of a connector between the girls and the women's area, which is over here. So more lockers through this area, across here. And we've got showers through here, and then also showers through this area too. In the same kind of a situation where we've got curtains at the shower and then a dry off area with another curtain before you get out into the main space. Okay.
Is that a handicap accessible up in the upper right-hand corner there?
Yes.
Shower at the top there?
Yeah. That's
And then like a
a little
janitorial closet or something then?
Yeah, that was kind of some leftover space.
Housekeeping closet, okay.
Yeah, mop sink. Kind of the same thing. Kind of gets more into, I think things are more identified, I guess. So, this doesn't read real well here, I don't know what it looks like on yours for sure, but this is kind of a finished schedule that shows some ceramic tile flooring and some carpet. Yeah.
Oh, so this is incorporating the color scheme in there?
Yeah.
Is that
Right,
with the
right.
accent tiles? Okay.
Right. We're actually proposing in the locker areas, either ceramic tile or a particular carpet that is kind of made for a semi-wet area. Obviously not in the shower area, but over in front of the lockers, just to give it a little bit more of a warm feeling.
We saw that in some lockers when we toured, did some tours, whether we decide to do that or not.
It's actually cheaper than the ceramic tile, but the cost estimate I put together is with ceramic tile, so I was kind of looking at worst case scenario.
From a podiatric perspective, how do you keep that sanitized, that carpet? So you're not spreading
exactly
stuff all over the place.
So, that's what we talked about. That would
We did.
be something that we need to decide if there's a cleaner for the carpet or how we do that for sure.
The downside
But we
is-
did see some locker rooms, upscale locker rooms that had carpet and then it was tile in the other areas.
There's going to be obviously more maintenance involved. which is
Usually I tell
probably
people
downside.
bring in flip-flops whenever they come in, and keep their feet at least out of the stuff, but you're not gonna be 100%, but I just, from a sanitation perspective, mopping that floor with Clorox every now and then kind of cleans and kills everything.
Well, yeah, we have a separate machine we bought a few years ago, a
Yeah.
smaller one, a walk behind that gets in
Gets it
between
all
the
clean.
benches and the lockers and goes around. And
Okay.
every night we spray it down, hose it down, and power wash it. And then twice a week we take that out, scrubber in. And,
Rub it out.
Yep.
This is just kind of a three-dimensional view of it. It would be kind of a idea of what plans are.
So the entrance, the gap there in the entrance stays the same? Or would you have to alter that to get into the lockers?
Let's see if I can point to it right down.
Right down there, yeah.
Yeah, that wall there where my cursor is, that's actually gets
Recessed
further
back,
in, yeah.
okay.
Because the outside wall back in this, you guys call it the green room, don't you?
Yeah.
Jack?
Yeah.
That obviously, we can't move that.
Right.
But we can move that inside wall back, get that clearance requirements for ADA. finishes on the girls' side that is on the men's side. And then another three-dimensional view. What that looks like on that side. Those shower partitions, what we're looking at, rather than a ceramic tile block wall or whatever, those are actually like toilet partition, solid plastic toilet partitions. I think from a maintenance standpoint, it would be easy to take care of. There's no grout joints that you have on a ceramic tile wall. And those provide the privacy, they're durable, doesn't take up quite as much space as a block wall would. That would be both on men's and women's.
Be lower expense too.
Yeah.
Construction, wouldn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Ron, this certainly appears to make it into a maze-like effect. Is that what it takes to make these things work? I mean, you look at this from the overhead, wow, what a maze.
Well, you're right, except that a lot of those walls aren't full-height walls. They go, 6, 7
Okay.
feet high to help kind of, so that maybe you don't feel like you're in a maze.
It's just, we have such an open floor plan in them.
Yes.
Now, it just chops it all up.
Gives a little bit of privacy.
This gives us more privacy
See,
and from a color scheme, I guess I'm seeing the darker colors, to keep it a little lighter so that you don't have that condensed, the darker things are, the more condensed or claustrophobic you will feel versus a light, whiter, neutral tone. It'll give it more of an open effect. It's a little brighter.
No, you're right. Dark colors are in now. They're kind of the style now.
Sure, I guess I'd hate to see it be faddish, then all of a sudden that fad is going somewhere else. I guess I'd rather see it more neutral, but.
And that's fine.
Can I just say, when you see it in person, it doesn't feel this dark.
It doesn't, okay.
No, the pictures aren't doing.
So you've seen examples of this coloration
Yeah,
scheme?
they brought it in, and it did not feel, this really looks dark. The real products that they brought in, the blues were a light, airy feel. It wasn't would you agree, Jack?
Yeah.
It didn't have this, I think it just looks that way maybe on the screen.
Maybe it does in the papers too.
Yeah.
It looks dark and I think in the printing.
The lights are off. Make sure if you look at the switch.
What's that?
If you look at the switch, make sure the lights are off.
Oh, duh, yeah.
Ron, this was what stands out to me. You have the lockers turned so that there's privacy. Boys' locker is what I'm specifically looking at. Not sure which page this is, but the boys' lockers and the men's lockers, page 7, are turned so that there's privacy, correct? Is that for privacy to protect someone from seeing in from the front door? Or is it just privacy within the confines of the shower, of the area?
Yeah, I think a little bit of both.
Okay, then the first thing that I think of is the more private that is, in particular on the boys' side, the quicker you're going to get somebody bullied, because nobody's looking at them. Okay? That's you're almost completely hidden in there. It's just what stands out to me. If you twisted it around, is there a reason it can't be twisted the other way and just flip the L right here so that it's up against the wall, so that it's open so it can be better supervised? So I'm just seeing this little 4th grader getting beat up by the 2 6th graders and nobody sees it.
Yeah.
Is that a possibility?
Sure it is.
Am I
Sure it is.
over concerned here?
We're schematic level in nature at best here, so yeah, we can do.
We can still alter things.
We can alter things.
That's
yeah.
just what I see as being and theft. There's more chance for theft because you're in there. If you're the only person, you're going to hear somebody coming in the front door. You'll know.
Mm-hmm. No, we can make some changes and try to address some of those issues. I think we were looking at, I don't want to say the viewing angle from the door to make sure that nobody was going to get caught if somebody walking by, number one.
Right, I'm
And
saying
then-
just take that L, and I know that's way advanced of what, I mean, maybe we're not to that level where we have to think of this yet, but you take this L and flip it around that way and put the lockers along the wall and then sticking out here, then still blocked from the door, more visible to the next person that comes in and says, hey, what are you doing over there?
What's the purpose of the marker board?
Well, Jack mentioned that swim teams might have a team meeting right there at the time, and maybe a marker board would be important, maybe not. But
Would just one marker board work, or do you need two of them?
Well, is there one on the other side? I think originally we
There's one on the
discussed
other
having
side,
marker
too.
boards and/or mirrors, if I remember right.
You know, it's not an opportunity for us to market what we're doing, put stuff up, hey, we got these classes, we got signups.
Oh, I see what you
chance
got.
to-
So it could be a
Announcements for
Yeah,
for patrons.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, are these whiteboards?
we haven't got that far.
Okay, but is that what you're thinking?
That's what a marker
We're
board
thinking
would.
maybe on the boy side, whiteboard, and then some kind of tack board or something on the mid side. Probably don't need whiteboard on the mid side, I don't know.
Well, I think when we discussed it originally, we remembered if you have a boys swim meet, you're gonna have two teams, and potentially the teams would have to be in the open spaces, opposite of each other, but there's still private spots for anybody who's there as a public to get on the backside. I think that was one of the discussions that we had.
Yeah.
I'm going to assume that whiteboard is reasonably inexpensive.
Yes.
Plus, you don't have to pay.
Unless you make it a smart board.
No.
If you make it a smart board, then you're talking some money, yeah.
You'll have little electrical shorts.
Yeah.
Again, I think one of the big questions we need to find out is if we go forward, when here in the next few weeks, we'll bring you a proposal or some options on the indoor pool additions and some alterations to the current pool area. We need to figure out that additional space, what that requires for toilets and sinks. Technically, I think, Ron, you told me, not that I would advocate for this, but you don't have to provide showers in our facility.
Showers are not in the code, that you have to provide showers for a pool.
Yeah.
Or really for any facility like this, you don't have to have showers. You do have to have so many toilets, so many urinals, and so many sinks.
What about for the basketball court and the lifting room? You don't have to have showers for those?
Yeah, there's nothing in the code that says you have to have a shower. I think
Really?
obviously
Obviously, we'll
you
have
want them,
Yeah.
but
Well, I think the intent of the showers at the time was people were supposed to shower before they went into the pool.
Yeah.
I thought that's what the
It's in
intent.
the state pool code, and it's in
Is
the
it?
public water
I would-
code,
okay.
I believe.
That would have
It
been.
might even be just a shower outside the door that you rinse off before you go in.
Yeah.
That's probably
Some
it.
showers required.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't have, there's not a certain quantity of showers, is there? in-
Probably.
I'd have to look, I have to look.
Based on
Yeah.
occupancy or something?
But either way, once we get the additional pool space, we'll have numbers on that.
Are the showers used a lot now, or do most people go home?
Oh, yeah. Early morning, because people work out and go to work.
Okay.
Lunch hour, everyone pretty much does it. Evening, it drops off number-wise, but there's still a few.
When I was a
Mornings,
kid going there, I showered.
yeah.
Get the chlorine out of you and
Yeah.
soap and all that. Yeah.
Does
Yeah.
does the dive team still use the pool quite a bit?
They, diving has picked up again. There's a dive coach that's in our community.
I'm sorry, scuba diving.
They haven't done like they've had in the past. Have they requested anything with you? I know they have one dive that they're required to do a year, and there's been an average of about 4 or 5 of them that have done it. We accommodate them, we let them.
Well, the reason I was asking is I know, being a former diver, using that, in there to wash off the gear and stuff like that was always really nice, and those open showers are nice for that. And I don't know if there'd be something in there or not, but if they're using that infrequently, it's probably not that big a deal.
You can use a shower stall. Yeah, because you want to get that, you got to keep
It's a lot
that
of gear to haul in there,
fresh.
especially to get somebody my size with my gear.
That's
It's
a big,
back
that's a
in,
big
back
BC.
We'll put you outside and turn the water on.
Yeah.
Fire
Done
hose.
before. Okay.
Anything else?
Again, we move forward with the locker room area, we would get a full proposal. A lot of these questions you have will be answered at the time of the drawings. So you'd see.
But if something doesn't happen with the pool part, we've always got this
Yes.
to fall back on too.
Yeah.
so.
Question, I think Mackenzie might have answered it for me, but I wasn't sure if anybody else heard it. So also the air filtration or the air quality in the shower rooms will be changed, like what's been happening in the weight room?
That-
Because I've had concerns about, and my kids as well, it's freezing to go into the locker room. So what are we doing with warm air, cold air?
That would be part of the plan, and that's what really significantly raised that price. You know, I think Ron estimated about $280,000.
On top of the 880 something?
No, that
Oh,
included the
okay.
880.
Yeah.
But his original, and what we talked about when Laura brought the resolution or ordinance for the 580, over 500,000 for that. That's when we did did the weight room, we realized that situation, they incorporated that price now into the 500,000. So that's what got us to 889.
Right.
Yep.
But to control it, have dual controls per locker room is really,
That's
you
tough.
you can't, well, we don't have any doors. You can't control it. It's gonna, from one to the next, whether it's women's and girls or boys and men's, with no doors clearly separating those spaces, you can't control that temperature differential that you're trying to achieve.
We hear just the opposite of the people that work out and during the summer months, and then they go in, shower, they walk out, they're sweating when they go back to work. Right.
So you had mentioned something about this side being people that use the weight room and then go in, clean up would be cooler, then the other side be people that use the pool who want a warmer area to go into after swimming, because it is freezing. Kids don't want to get out to go to the bathroom. They don't even want to go in and shower because it's freezing.
But what Jack was saying there is that like the women's side would become
Maybe the pool
men's and
area.
women's
Yeah, that's
for
what
the
I was
pool
just-
area and the other one being,
Right.
yeah,
That would be a total different.
that's.
This isn't all on the same air handling system now.
But we can.
You can separate that out.
Separate that out.
Yeah.
But not, like I said, not the girls and the women.
Right.
Because
Right.
there's
I get
no
that.
physical walls or doors there.
The girls and women's would be the same temperature.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
the thing with the
Just wanna make
women's
sure we
and the
understand
girl
each other.
side now is you are bringing them together. There's not that divider necessarily where you have that with the men and boys now. You'll lose that privacy, whether right or wrong, if we need that. But if we do, yeah.
But you'd be able to make temperature changes from
Oh, yeah.
the pool area into the locker rooms.
Yeah.
So they're not going from real hot to real cold.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's what,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
And that'd actually be better when we show you in a couple of weeks the pool design, where we show, not trying to get ahead of it, what we're talking about today, but we're showing a zero depth entry and a plan that you have more access to the zero depth entry and the sauna and steam room that'll be available whenever the rec's open. And maybe that is the pool area, then the other area we turn into the more of the fitness. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else?
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate the time.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you want to stop on anything else or not. Jack, do you have anything else you want to?
I just gave you some information. Jerry had asked me last week and it kind of pertained to the golf course fees. He had already mentioned that earlier tonight. But I gave you basically a 14-year history of our personnel expenses, and then the total services and commodities, this large, 11 by 17. Our capital purchases, so I gave you total expenses against total revenue, and then the 3 lines below is the personnel services, commodities against the revenue to show you the difference, and then the bottom one includes capital items. So the first one is just personnel, basically your day-to-day expenses. So it'll be like those two on year 2001, 2002. That 48,000 is the deficit minus capital. The 123,000 includes capital. That's your true expense. I just threw that in there not to confuse anyone, but sometimes we look at budgets that way. You guys see personnel expenses has really fluctuated depending on personnel, what we've had down there, and salaries. So just information for you, and then the next sheet, this one down here is just more information, more breakdown. I did take out the leisure services. There was 2 columns over on the side that showed revenue of leisure services and the theater. But basically you can see each quarter, first quarter, I'm looking at the very top, 2001, 2002. Total revenue that quarter, which is July through September, was $73,481. Memberships was 48,000 of that, 995. So that's kind of breakdown. And on the back sheet is the total year comparisons. So those are total revenue for the year, and the memberships, the daily admission, punch cards, room rental, miscellaneous, locker rentals, concession, the vending machine, yeah, stuff like that. So that's that. And then the last one shows daily average per month, per quarter, our summer average since 1997. You can kind of see January through March is the highest. It drops during the summer months and then starts coming back up for the winter months. So, I can answer any questions you'd like to go over, talking about the rec center. Is there anything else, Jerry, you would like to have? The last thing, I did make this just today. I was kind of a little bit worried about the numbers, but this does show memberships, where we're at for last year, January through December of 2015. So Pam kind of helped me today with this. Quick example, January, adults, this includes Farner Bakken's members that they pay for, 562,000. College students, we had 21 monthly memberships. This isn't necessarily a year, most of them are year memberships, but if I'm a college student, I pay 1 month membership, that number is included in those. Families, that's both year memberships and monthly memberships. And then seniors, senior couple, single parent, youth. So the one line up, second from the bottom, total memberships. Jensen's have 1 membership, but they maybe have 5 units. That's what the bottom number is. That's the actual number of people. Does that make sense?
So basically, number of membership cards?
Yes, there you go. Yep.
So because each family member would have a
Card. Yeah.
Okay.
For instance, we have 6.
Okay.
And we'd be in the 3979.
And
So-
what year is this?
15. This is the year we just went through.
2015 that just
Yep.
finished, okay.
Yep. And they seem to, and it started out, a little bit higher, then our summer months drop off. but we really didn't have that trend back up. So I'm kind of want to look at these numbers one more time, but I went right off our program. So
Because what January looked like you had almost 4,000 units.
Yep.
And then December you're down to about 3,000.
Yep.
It's quite a change.
Yeah, it is. So
Well, do you have January 2016 yet or not?
I didn't pull that one.
Does that be a fair, I mean,
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
I'm guessing December might be a lower month just because people buying monthly memberships might not buy one in December.
Yeah.
That part would go down, but, yeah, that is.
Usually September, October, we get our 4-month memberships where families of swim teams, their child is on the swim team, so they'll buy a 4 1-month memberships. And a lot of times parents they'll just end up getting a family membership because they'll be down there with the kids while they're swimming, they'll work out. That's usually October, November, December, January, possibly February, depending if they make the state meets and stuff. Any questions for Mackenzie or I? Mackenzie, she's getting these reports and she'll be doing a lot of the updating going forward. She's had a lot on her plate the last few months, a lot to take on, so she's doing a good job.
Yeah, I think everybody's been enjoying the fact that you're there. I've been hearing that. They've been pretty happy with someone's there that they can talk to.
Yeah. Anything else we can answer? So, like I mentioned, and you see those reports, you will probably see a proposal from us for a rec center membership increase 5%. It'll probably take effect either April or July. So, those are things to consider.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Mackenzie. Budget session number 2.
I think the oil is ready. You didn't give us any specific directives at your last gathering, so we have made no, would say proposals or anything. I would say the budget is before you, and you will need to give us direction if you want it to be different than that. We'd be happy to discuss any concerns or questions that you might have about the proposal.
One change I will make as I put together the budget documents is council had approved an allocation of $10,000 to CYP for Hotel Motel. And that was made, that motion was done at the January 25th council meeting when the budget books were handed out. So that is not incorporated in here.
What about the CADC, was it the 20 or 25? That one's not been added in either?
No, because we just had that presentation on Thursday.
Okay. We want more information on that.
And I think it would depend upon what your desire is. I look at this and the question that I would have about adding something that doesn't have a specific plan with it is how would you spend it? How would you know you're going to spend it? And I've spoken with at least one of the people that was involved in that presentation, and they indicated that they wanted to get a start. Now that's my words, not theirs. They want to ring the bell and say, we need to do something in the future. But there really is no plan to do anything specific at this point.
We can make a commitment. We can always do an amendment if we want to do that in the future.
Yes.
Or we can always come back with budget amendment too.
Right.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
what
That's what yep, same thing.
It will either change your general fund balance if you take it out of there, or any other fund that you use, it will change their projected balance at the end of the year.
Okay.
At this point, it would appear that you could make that adjustment in the general fund or maybe even in some of the other funds.
Would hotel motel That'll be something that we could use that out of.
Well, it depends on what the projected balance is.
Would that seem to be the most applicable?
Economic development probably wouldn't come out of hotel motel. It would probably come out of the general fund.
LOST,
Yeah, I think you need to be careful if you're looking at recurring costs, that they not come from local option hotel motel. Because someday you'll be backed up against the wall on those. And you need to be careful that you don't put recurring costs into some funds that are variable. Your property tax funds generally are not very much variable. They're pretty stable.
Hotel motel vary upon.
Well, if you have bad times, some people would say we're having bad times right now. The stock market seems to be very erratic. I don't know what that means, but both hotel and motel and local option could be sensitive to spending habits of people or businesses. Where the property tax, fair or unfair, it's pretty reliable. It's always there. I personally think that an investment in your community is a good thing. I don't think the plan that I saw was mature enough to make a commitment to say you were going to do something. But that's up to you as policymakers to decide that.
Shannon kind of touched on that though, didn't she? She said that they're going to get together a committee, they're going to get together a plan. So it'd be worth just, I guess,
Well,
tabling it.
yeah, I
Maybe
think-
making an amendment later.
And then when they really want it, they can come back. I think at least that we're aware of it, we can always make the amendment if we need to.
Because I think I even asked them, like, if they really wanted to do this, how quick could they see moving forward with it? And I believe she said something to me of 3 to 5 months. Like, they could be right now with it based on what they have in that package. So,
I think it's a piece of many parts. If you believe that this is a recruitment tool, which it may be, may not be, but if you believe it's a recruitment tool to bring people to the community, where are they going to live? So that comes with the housing.
Right.
So then the housing commitment, where does the funding come or the impetus come from to create the housing stimulus? Is it going to be public monies? Is it going to be partnerships? What is it going to be? It would seem to me that we would all be better off if we had a plan that, okay, here's this person, this group's playing this role, this group is playing this role, and the city is playing this role, because in most cases, the only role you can play is support or cash.
I guess I understood that plan that they were going to do, that was the funding mechanism with which they were going to now, and we had been putting on our letterhead that we're a gigabyte community. What I understood when I went through and discussed that with them, my understanding now is this is seed money to go through and actually now knock on businesses and say, we have this service. It's no more a passive advertising, it's more of an active advertising. That's the way I understood it with their part.
I would strongly encourage those of us that have an interest in this, that we go to Mitchell, South Dakota and talk to these people, because they've done it. Would it fit like ours? These probably aren't cookie cutter programs. They don't work the same in one community as they have worked in another community. And I spent a good half hour speaking with a gentleman who is the chamber director and is involved in economic development. And their community puts a lot more money into their economic development than what we do, about $150,000, $60,000 a year. So there's other components with this, not just simply doing this. And again, I'm not opposed to this at all. In fact, I think this is a very good idea. I think we need to be careful how we spend our money with the idea of when you do one thing, another thing happens. Are you prepared for that other thing that's going to happen? And the visitation would be, I think, a big help to say, why did you do this? What was the impetus? They have a long history. They're clear back into the 80s with their Mitchell Technical Institute, MTI, which is like our community college here. And they had something going for them in that area. It doesn't mean that we can't do the same thing. But there's been no discussion with community college yet at this point to see what role they may or may not play.
That was, I think, the bigger part of how they could get that kick-started, was they had that educational background right there within the community.
Yes. That doesn't mean you can't do something without that, but it's not like cookie cutter. You just don't take Mitchell's plan and stamp it onto ours.
I wasn't so much sure that they were looking at using Mitchell's plan, but something similar to that. The general idea being to start do more, like I say, an active advertising of the gigabit
Sure.
service.
And of course, then what is the goal? Is it to advertise, or is it to create jobs, or is it to create residents in our community? What is the goal?
All of the above.
Is that what you took away from that message?
Yes.
I mean, I was there by myself. I think
Yeah,
everybody
me
had
too.
gone.
Right.
And what did everybody
Well,
else come away with?
Mitchell had gone through, it's a competitive process that is, I didn't bring the information with me, but they were a, what was it, a something 7 city?
I see.
And there's, yeah. And so they had gone through this competitive process so that they had earned somehow, and I just skimmed through the material, so they had earned this recognition. And I looked them up, and this group that sponsors this type of, this process, and then you receive the recognition from going through it, the group is international. And a lot of, I mean, my daughter lives in a suburb of Toronto, and in many cities in suburbs around her have earned this designation. Those places are booming. I mean, they are just booming. Now, a part of South Dakota is also their tax structure, which Iowa's is horrible. And so a part of Mitchell's success is that lack of, you don't pay income tax. But, my sense was they wanted Carroll to consider this process to earn the recognition, because when people look for places to land or, offer jobs, then this really is like a big, I don't know, an award that people look at. Wow, you are this type of city, you are high tech, you are able to be so versatile with the jobs and I know where Jamie lives, they have the technology. I mean, she works from home. Her group is in Chicago that she oversees, and she couldn't do it without this type of technology in her home. So I don't know, I'm anxious to learn more. I don't know if we need to, they said they wouldn't need it until next fiscal year, but, $25,000 to pursue it, it seems like there's potential. So I don't know what everybody else wants to do.
Well, in my conversation with the gentleman at Mitchell, he indicated that they spent about $50,000 putting together their preparation, or their presentation, excuse me.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, I don't
what
know.
the total costs
I don't know
are.
where this will lead, but it sounded, it just sounded like, hey, high tech is a part of our infrastructure, just like everything Randy does. So I don't know. I became enthusiastic just based on my daughter's experience with her job. So.
Well, there aren't, what would you say, there aren't very many cities that have what we have, so we should really think about capitalizing on it, whatever that might be, and whatever that looks like. I'm not 100% sure, but there are many that have that, and thank you to Western Iowa Networks for just doing it. Nobody had to ask them. They just did it, like they did it. Our kids wouldn't have what they have in school today if they hadn't done that. They wouldn't be running one-on-one iPads.
Yeah,
things
and
like
then the
that.
technology, they can use them on the buses, wherever they travel, and can be working on their homework. I don't know, I think, Shannon said once they get a committee together, they have a plan, then they would disperse the money. So I think it's worth pursuing, so.
I think right now, based on everything I've heard, I think they just wanted to know that we were interested. I think
Yeah.
is kind of.
That we would
presenting all
pitch
yeah.
in.
That they wouldn't do all this work to get as far as they could in 5-6 months, and then the city goes, no, we're not going to give them any more money. So I think that they know that, I think things will progress down that avenue as far as information goes.
I like what we've seen up to this point, but I'm not ready to commit yet until we have more of an idea. And I think if they come up and they can solidify and say, this is what we want to do, this is where we want to go, yeah, I'm be all in for what I'm hearing. So I think we've got the capability of doing it at that point.
So a general consensus that we're all interested in doing it, we just don't want to commit just quite yet.
As far as that dollar amount, yeah, I would
Yeah.
agree with that. Okay.
We want to make sure their plan is more solidified before we do that, so.
And I don't necessarily know that it's really their plan. I mean, I would assume with Shannon being involved and everybody being involved, they're gonna, they're gonna reach out to Gerald, they're gonna reach out to city officials, they're gonna reach out to us. It'll be collaborative amongst everybody.
Well, that's where they started.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
they're going to chip in, CADC, Chamber, City, it's, partnership.
Yeah, this has huge potential. It's exciting. It'll be good to see what comes here in the future.
So I get what I would probably, the takeaway message if she asks, is that we're committed to do it, and when they're ready to come forward, we can commit the funds to do so.
Yeah, because as they develop their plan, they may need more, they may need less. We don't
Okay.
know right now, they're just spitballing the figure.
Is it fair to say we just want to see it in writing, basically? I mean, in other words.
Give us a
their
written
object-
proposal, yeah.
Right.
Maybe have them get their committee together and get it figured out, then give us a
Formal
written proposal,
presentation.
and then we'll get it done. Okay?
Yeah, we should have funding in hotel motel. That's where we usually do the marketing, so next year.
Well, and to your point too, Gerald, if it's an ongoing recurring thing, that's one thing. If it's seating here or there, that's a wholly different thing.
For now, it's not
Right.
ongoing because we don't even know where it's going. So, this time it's
Go. Okay.
All right.
Oh, speaking of hotel motel and local option sales tax, I went back, there's a lot of enthusiasm after people read in the paper our first meeting of the year over trails. You could tell Von's been after me and others, Frank and everyone. And I noted at our first meeting that we had pushed back a year our hotel motel tax funding to start the Northeast Trail project, as well as the hotel motel tax funding. And I would like to see us restore, not push it back a year. We had $240,000 in the present budget year in hotel motel tax, okay? Then the budget we're working on now, we had indicated $100,000, and then projected fiscal year 18-19, another $100,000. So over the 3 years, counting the budget we're in now, we had the $440,000. Then we had, and then we pushed back a year the hotel motel tax funding, and that would be $150,000 that would be committed in the budget we're working on, and then another $150,000 for 17-18. And I know I asked Jack, how do you want to do this trails thing? I know there's a problem with, the land. So I went back, and thank you for sending us all that information. I went back through all the studies, and we've had this plan master plan for 10 years. This has been a priority. The trails have been a council priority from our planning sessions every year since 2012. It was a priority then in 12, 13, 14, 15, ongoing priority. And what I would like us to do is to restore back to, and I found the sheets from our planning session, the hotel motel tax and local option sales tax and hotel motel tax from June 30th of 15 that we used at our planning session. I would just like us to restore it to where it was and get started on the trails and recommit that $240,000 into our budget now. It would not take any money away from any projects that are indicated. And in fact, the hotel motel tax, instead of shoving the $240 into the current budget, if we keep it in, or into the budget we're working on, if we keep it in the current budget and then continue with the 100,000, we end up with the exact same balance for fiscal year 18-19. It would not take any money, if we shifted it back, would not take any money from any of the other indicated projects. And I went, we spent $20,000 to do the phased plan for the northeast section. And, you know, I went back and looked, and even Shive Hattery said, due to requirements, this is a memo from July 10 of 14, due to requirements of land acquisition and sheer length of the trail system, the 4 phases are really lengthy. Completing this project at one time would not be feasible. This is what Craig Erickson said from Shive Hattery. So then I thought, if we could restore the funding, what could we do? And I looked at the phases, and I'll tell you something, when I was door knocking, I not only had people talk about trails, I had heard them talk about sidewalks. This is something that is important to people. And I looked at their 4 phases. Phase 1 will potentially require 2 trail easements, so let's forget that. Phase 4 may potentially require 4 trail easements, so we'll forget that. It's getting too complex. Let's keep it simple. Phase 2 is an entirely on-street route, includes partial sidewalk replacements, and fills in sidewalk gaps. I've had people calling me, can you do something when you do your trails and sidewalks at the same time? Then, this is what really I thought, phase 2 on-street route, that it provides the most connection to local points of interest, including Northeast Park, Carroll Aquatic Center, athletic fields, etc. And the price is $210,000, but this is from 14. In 13, it was $180,000. So it's bumped up a bit. If we wait, it's going to keep going up. There is maybe a solution in starting with phase 2 and having that connectivity, doing a little sidewalk, and then there's a shorter route, but it's off street, and that is phase 3. So I guess I'm imploring you, could we recommit the money and shift it back, not put it off a year, because I know you have a lot on your plate, Jack, but it's off street, so, you know, not too complex. And I think the people who are the guys here, and there's really interest, and it really does enhance a city. I think people, they expect trails. So anyway, if we could recommit the money, I think there's plans in here where we don't get into the other obstacle. We can work on that, but get going. So
phase 1, that required land acquisition up by Northeast Park, is that where that one was?
Yes,
Okay.
a small portion.
Yeah. But I
And
should
that's
have
where
had
we
a
have,
cookie.
can we build up to that point?
Boy.
You do that and then worry about that, okay.
Yeah.
Phase
It leads
one.
you to nowhere.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying.
Goes from
Right.
park
Right.
to park, basically.
Right.
Yeah,
You need
Phase
Veterans
two.
Park to
Yeah.
Northeast.
That we
Phase
can do
two would
without-
be this pink
No,
area.
Leads to nowhere. Leads to nowhere.
But
Gets
you
up against me.
you have the
It's a-
school.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We've had a conversation with the superintendent. You have the Lutheran Church, so we had to approach and talk to them.
With the phase
New Hope
two.
gave us the easement already
Right.
for that area. And then you'd have to talk to none of those landowners at present time seem to be object to that. Lutheran Church,
yeah. Here's the,
I can't speak for the church.
Yeah.
here's the phase two that is on street. Then this is 3. But they don't, you're saying, Jack, were you saying that I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, phase 2, according to this, there's no easement that we have to deal with. I have this all marked up.
Phase one ended.
This is this is
Right.
that 2014
I don't remember, okay.
That's phase 2.
Yeah, and this is in,
That's okay.
Phase 1 and 2,
yeah,
He just said
yes,
it
just
out.
that one little piece.
but could we start with 2?
You have this little piece right here, though.
Yeah,
That,
is that the problem?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, this
One-
didn't,
and this is,
well, could
just-
we start?
yeah, we could start with phase 1 to Northeast Park. You're connecting veterans, if we can get right-of-ways and easements from all the
Yeah,
landowners. That
I
would
d-
be
yeah.
several weeks, but I've talked to most of them.
Well,
already.
I don't know. I just,
I went out and talked to most of these people,
is
face to
it,
face.
is it doable to get started if we shifted our money back where it was originally so we could start? I hate to see, we have had this as a priority, to let one little wrinkle stop us. If we could even start in a start small, that's what other people do.
What is the little wrinkle, can I ask? I mean,
Acquiring land from
Yeah.
a private landowner.
so we could get all of it done, but there'd be one section that we couldn't finish, which would tear apart the whole connection.
Well, maybe with time.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. right now.
Well,
Maybe if you got it all done and that one piece is left, maybe they would feel obligated
I think
to
it's doable,
become
but,
a part of.
yeah, I don't know, Jack, what would
There's
you
a
think?
workaround right there by Northeast Park. You'd have
Yeah,
to
I
go
know.
around on a street, but you could get around that if, for some reason or other,
If the wrinkle would move
if
out.
the wrinkle did not work its way out.
Okay.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we need to start.
If the money's reallocated and put in the current budget, what I think we do is a work session. I know we've done them before. We bring Shive Hattery back
Yeah.
and say, we want to start Veterans Park to, right in front of Northeast Park.
And connect
And
the
get a
school.
proposal.
And
Get a
Connect to
proposal
that side of town.
on that. In the meantime, I need to talk to those landowners and update them that this is the plan and this is what we would need, potentially what we would need. Obviously, Shive Hattery will give us a better depiction of what exactly we need in each property.
And-
That's great, but that's not really a design and showing on a map.
I did ask the mayor of Manning about their 5,000 feet of trail that they put in. And when I asked how much of it was in an area that was improved, in other words, houses, he said very small area. Most of it was in unimproved areas. So I have suggested to Eric here a week or so ago that we get maybe some people together, just sit down and see what is it that people riding trails, what is it that they want? I'm told, Randy's a biker and he can speak for himself, but I'm told that bikers will not ride the trail if they have to stop all the time. They just won't ride it. So the bikers may not be the people that we're trying to appease. it might be the walkers and the people who want to
Well,
take children
I think
out.
trails just are for everybody. I mean, you'll see walkers, people with dogs, pushing baby carriages, et cetera. I think Shive Hattery has put together a plan, and I just think we need to bring them here and talk to them. And have them talk to us about how we can implement this. People will use it. I mean, people are walking on North Grant Road, just on the shoulder. I had Tom Farner talk to me and say, why can't you paint some lines, do the, we're talking about the sharrows, and I'm just hearing all sorts of suggestions. I don't think we need, to be honest, I think we just need to get with Shive Hattery and have Jack work it out. Yeah.
And
The
work
trails
around-
are used for so many different things, but I appreciate what you're saying.
The bikers that I've talked to would tell me that they won't go where they have to stop all the time.
Sure.
I don't know. I
When I
bike
think
a
an in-town
lot.
trail, I don't know necessarily if you're gonna have that committed biker, but you might have the child that's
But the
going
folks that
from,
were here tonight were bikers.
they may
Well-
use them to get to where they need to go too.
Yeah.
And I haven't spoken to any of them specifically about
Yeah.
what they're talking about.
Well, they're the Sauk Rail Trail guys, but they recognize and, that people who, they expect trails anymore in towns. They expect. This is an amenity that people want, and I hate to see us fall behind.
So we get a tremendous amount of people that walk around it there, and it's,
Oh.
most of them walk down the center of the street.
You know what, you can go on the Sauk Rail Trail, and Randy just whizzes by us. And, I mean, there are a lot of people that walk on the Sauk Rail Trail too, so, start, stop, I ride up at the Great Lakes, I have to start, stop all the time, some of the riding's off-road, on-road. You know what, if you like to do it, you just do it, so.
When Parks and Recreation departments do surveys of #1 activities, it's always running, biking, walking. So
Yeah,
that
it's so
incorporates trails, sure.
multi-purpose, multi-age,
Yep.
just,
Yep.
yeah.
I
So-
don't think
You're
it's,
recommending then, Jack, put all the money into trails and don't worry about updating the rec center, is that what you're saying?
No.
There-
No. I'm saying here to be directed by you on what you want.
Well,
Yeah.
anyway.
I don't think it's feasible to think that we're going to do something in this calendar year. But there is a start of the next spring. You can make you can indicate
We can
that
bring
you
the
want
money
to plan
back.
some things.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
you want to bring it into the beginning of 17.
I'd like to put it back into 15, 16, the year we're in now. It will
But what
not
are we going to
affect.
spend it on if we can't get it going that fast?
Well, they're going to have to do design work or do bid,
Yeah, you'd bring Shive Hattery back, you would talk to the landowners. Dave would be able to help with the legality of, transferring property over to the city or however that would work. Design, 3 months to have them come out. It's a little bit different designing trails than buildings. You have a building, you design it up. Trails, there's a lot of variations. We have our dips, water retention areas that are going to be involved here. So there's a lot more of going out to, the area, surveying it, doing all that. So I would think that'd be a 3-month period. And then you're talking probably a good 2.5 months for construction. If you have a smooth area, when I was in South Sioux, we did tons of trails. They're a bicycle-friendly community award winner. You would watch them. They'd pour a 10-foot trail, have a slip form. They could do half a mile, in a week. So it can go quick. Get the right material, get the right flat land. South Sioux is flat, so there's not a lot to it.
but I think we need the money to get started.
Well, to say to your point, even if we move some money, even if it wasn't a whole dollar amount, if we move
Well-
some in to get going, it'd be a start, but it's,
Get our
if we
engineers.
leave the money out a year, then we really can't.
I
use
feel
it.
like we're just,
You're gonna be about 2 years out before you're getting going.
everything takes longer than you think.
Well, if we decided right now we're going to do this and go through this process, what would be the earliest date that we would spend $1 on this?
Spring of 17.
Spring is the winter. winter 17.
Well, except for what we.
Well, you're gonna have to do your
I'm
sidewalks.
16,
You'd be
fall,
16.
winter of 16, 17. But
I think it's important that I mention something here. We are loaded up with projects. That doesn't mean you can't do any more. We are loaded up with projects. The street department, Randy, is loaded with projects. Jack is loaded with projects. And because we have priorities doesn't mean we can do all of them. And I'm not here to say you can't do these things. I'm telling you they will be more expensive because we can't manage them. How do you manage? I mean, we're working on a rec center basically all the time. There's always something going on at the rec center. And we're working on a baseball stadium. Those are pretty big projects to try and manage. And then if we start stacking on top of that some other project, it's really hard to get all this stuff done. I mean, there's timeliness. Jack and I serve on the football stadium committee, and there are some folks who believe that we could have a vote this September. And I'm saying, whoa, we don't even have a plan yet. It's pretty hard to move these things as fast as we want to. I don't disagree with you as far as
Well, we're going to be
priorities.
even deeper into the pool project if we push this off next year. There are constantly projects. We could say that every single year. And my fear is, Gerald, this has been a council priority since 2012. We've had a master plan since 2006. We're always going to be busy. Trails, yes, it will keep Jack a little busier.
A lot
but in a
busier.
year, as we're moving ahead, I'm on that pool committee too. And as we move ahead, it's going to get even busier and busier. And I'm just saying, if he can get Shive Hattery up here, soon, maybe we could figure out how to do one small segment to get started. And because we're always going to we have big projects coming up. We're always going to be busy. And do you think it's doable to get Shive Hattery up here
yeah,
soon?
yeah, it's up to Craig. If he has next Monday or 2 weeks, if he can be up here.
So we could do something. I'd like
got
us to
2 weeks?
commit.
I'm not sure, I don't have my schedule.
Well, I'll meet with you Wednesday morning, but
Chamber banquet.
chamber banquet's on the 22nd.
Yeah, we meet on the 20th.
But we're gonna meet on the 23rd.
Right. Well, it doesn't have to be this month, but soon, maybe
Okay.
March, yeah.
Well, we were anticipating having some trail discussion in a workshop.
I know, we
That's
have
2
done
weeks.
so much discussing. And I think it's time for us to get them here. We paid for this plan in 2013, $20,000. We have spent a decade and tens of thousands of dollars. And my fear is if we, with all due respect, if we push it off, we're going to be even deeper into the pool thing. Merchants Park is really going to pick up. And I just think if we could get a little jump start and then work it in with Jack, however he is comfortable. But this one phase is off-street. That's painting lines. So I'm thinking, hey, we got to jump in if we want to get started. That's my thought.
Whatever your choice is. Would you like to make a motion towards something?
I would like to make a motion to restore the local option sales tax money as well as the hotel motel tax money to how it was originally for 15, 16, 16, 17, 17, 18.
Can you be specific about that? I'm not sure.
Yeah,
that
I
have
will.
everything.
I brought copies.
Would that take away from anything that we currently?
No, it doesn't. It
Is asking
doesn't.
Gerald
Well, that's why I'm asking, if you can be specific.
Here's how it was as of June of 15. And on top is the local option sales tax money. And then the second page is the hotel motel tax. Oh, I think I made an extra one for Laura.
Laura, would we need to move the full amounts forward, do you think, or?
Well,
Laura, wait, on the
I would
160,
defer to Jack for
That's what
that.
I'd like to know is.
Yeah.
page 89 in the book, Laura.
What page?
Page 89.
Okay.
160,000 is allocated for 16, 17. What is that? I don't have my detail. Okay,
Yeah, that's,
So-
Oh, Chandler, that's,
okay, so that's being used, is there,
that was based on our last cost estimate.
yeah.
And the reason why I had that pushed out for one fiscal year is otherwise, I didn't have the balance in fiscal 16 in hotel motel.
Okay. So there's still 174 left, so you could put the
Did you have
150
an
rate to
extra one?
24.
Did you have an extra one to show Laura, so she knows what I'm looking at?
Here.
You can look off.
Oh, okay, yeah. This is how it
What?
was. It was in this, yeah, 240, 100, 100. Then it got, what we're working on now, it got shoved to late. And then we had.
My only question with this is, if we do decide to do this, so we decide to get Shive Hattery here and they're gonna do this,
And this was,
are we even gonna spend $1 before July 1? I mean, July 1, this is put into the 16-17 budget, right? So essentially, July 1, we can start spending that money, right? So are we even gonna incur any expenses before July 1? Are you anticipating that we, Carolyn, are you anticipating that we start
oh, I thought if he was
building it
bringing
there?
them up, then we would start incurring,
They-
that's what
Their history,
maybe I assumed wrong.
their history is they would come up and talk with us about that. That I doubt if they would charge us, just knowing how Craig and they've been. If we decide to do from Northeast Park down to, or Veterans to Northeast Park, we have everything in line. They would get a proposal to us in, 30 days, a cost estimate. Then we start incurring some of those engineering fees until we got to the bidding process, which I don't think we'd bid until winter, spring of 17. And then that would be the ideal time to bid.
Fiscal year 17,
Yeah.
calendar year 16.
16, 17, you could start in the spring, incurring some significant costs for the trail.
So you don't think there's any way that they can start working on this year?
That very likely. It depends on their load, then getting a contractor. I'm guessing this is, more specific contracting than,
Because you'd
other
almost
people.
want to have that bid so that they're ready to start in March or April, like a year from now.
Dirt work, the landscaping, the sloping, Randy could answer those questions better, along 18th, what kind of work that would entail, but he's not prepared tonight, but obviously.
Come on, Randy.
I 100%
So-
agree with you, Carolyn, we do need to get going on this, I just don't know that. we
I
can-
thought maybe, well, I assumed if they got up here and started going, then all of a sudden we'd see a contract and we'd see this and
Yeah.
we'd see that. But you're thinking they won't even charge us until after July 1, Jack?
We could definitely structure
Be
it,
careful, because when you hire professional
Yeah,
people,
yeah.
don't expect them to do it for nothing.
yeah.
They
Well,
should be paid
that's what I'm
fairly.
worried about.
Right. Yeah.
Should we allocate something? I don't.
Could you just bring back 100?
Jack, you would know.
What you're proposing is to move the 240, 100, 100, one bracket left?
Yeah, back to restoring
same way.
it, but if Jack says they are gonna be charging us that much, maybe we should put something in, restore something to the budget we're in now, in case we do incur
Well,
expenses.
the most important thing is we have to tell them what we want done.
Yeah.
Right.
And up to now, we either haven't been able to do that, or we haven't had the will to carry it through.
Right, but
So,
I think now that, I think that will is there
okay.
to
Most
look through and
Well,
see.
what I envisioned
Wanna go.
quickly, thinking about this tonight, we can get back together after more thought, but you invite Shive Hattery up, you bring some of the bike enthusiasts, some of the trails at a pre-meeting before the council meeting, so we meet at 3 o'clock on Tuesday, have some discussions. Craig, very good at what he does. He could take that and turn that into a discussion so everyone can understand. And then we have a meeting, just a general meeting where we think we can go. And then the next step would be to get a proposal from them, talk to all the landowners in between, make sure we can get the land. Laura shut the heat off. It's getting cold.
No, it's running.
Just kicked off.
I did kick out again.
It's just
Shivering.
you're nervous, Jack. It's-
No, not usually.
So,
So
do we
what
need
do you
money
recommend?
for?
I don't think we need a motion yet then.
I
We
don't
just
know if
have
we
an
do
intent.
either.
No motion needed, correct?
Well, I guess my,
Do we have to bring money back in, or is there, do we have money to be able to afford to do the?
If
Depends
he,
upon whether you're talking about construction or planning.
I think at least the planning part going.
get the planning going.
If we've only spent a few tens of thousands in planning up to this point,
I got it, yeah. And we do have in the current budget $80,000 under hotel motel tax, talking with Shive Hattery, painting Sherrill's, signage on Main Street. We have $80,000 for Main Street. You are not gonna come close to spending $80,000. We've talked with Randy, we kind of have a plan. We've gone back to Shive to readjust their proposal to engineer or to help us through the Main Street project. So there's money of the $80,000 that if we needed to incur some engineering expenses now, that sounds a pretty good funding source there.
Yeah.
So we have it there, so we just.
We have it there.
That'll
So we
work.
just leave it.
We're fine with it.
Okay,
So we've-
let's get in
Okay.
here, and
Yep.
that sounds good,
Yep.
Jack, thank you.
Yep.
So I think the real ownership here has to lie with this council now to continue driving trails forward. That's my opinion.
Yeah, we kind of dropped the ball.
Yeah, we've got a, yeah, it's the same.
It's been
So
our
leaving the-
priority for ages.
So leaving the 240 right
That's
where
why
it
I'm
is,
saying we're always busy, we might as well.
leaving the
jump
240
in.
right where it is, well, the way we have it, Jack, that will be sufficient to
Yeah.
get the project started next
240
March.
get the design.
Yeah.
To design, definitely.
Well, no, the 240, that's the way it's budgeted
It's in
currently.
the next.
For next, that's there so that we can get the
maybe
project
we'll-
started then.
We're gonna hit grants again. We're gonna
Okay.
try a few more grants. Some of the grants, we need to be a little bit more creative when we're writing the grants. I can tell you that some of these grant committees just don't like doing trails. They want something exciting to go with it. So,
Put jugglers along the line, I guess.
there you go.
Okay.
Thanks, Jack, very much.
All right. Anything else from work session number 2?
If not, what Laura needs is a motion to present the budget, and she'll put it in proper form for hearing to the public.
I guess I have one more question. I know we had a discussion tonight about the rec center locker rooms. Currently, it's in the budget in fiscal 17 for the 500,000. My question is, do we leave it in fiscal 17? Do we take it out? Do we leave the funding tied at that? I guess I'm kind of in a quandary as to, what do you tell the public when you leave that in there?
We've authorized the authority to borrow the money, right?
No.
We took it out,
We did.
Yeah, we did that the last time, the last meeting. because-
but we can authorize later.
Yeah.
We just won't have taxing authority to get money until December of 17.
Correct. I mean, we could work the timing such that that should not be a problem. Do you want to leave it in at the
Which-
500,000, or do you kind of wait and see how things progress at the rec center?
I think our original plan was to wait and see
Yeah.
see when it comes back with the pool size and what if we have to reconfigure some stuff. And the anticipation was it wouldn't start until calendar year 17 anyways.
And what she's saying, though, is if you're really not planning to do anything this next fiscal
Right.
year, do you want it removed or do you want it left? The authority to expend is not a requirement to spend. And of course, this authority would only give you the authority to spend money. You don't have a source of the money yet, because you've removed that.
And either way, we'll find out. I mean, if you go through that whole ordeal and the public votes no on the thing, doesn't go through, we can always come back to go back and do the locker rooms at a later date. Because we know they need to be done. That's why I'm seeing it, so. I guess I would just pull it out, because you're not gonna spend it anyway. It would, and in the amount of time that it's gonna take to finish the idea of the pool plans, what we have designed here, to get that to a public vote and go through that, it's gonna take probably another, 4 or 5 months, 6 months maybe to get that done. In between time, if this does not progress, this fails, we can always come back to reinstitute the money to do the locker rooms. Or you look at this pool project and scale it down to the point where the public will vote for it too, so. I mean, no matter what, our options are still open. So you can pull that out and it's out of the system altogether. We can always recommit it down the road.
Jack, when's the best time to do locker room modifications?
It would be during the summer months.
Yeah. So if you take it out, I'm not saying you shouldn't take it out. If you take it out, you will not do anything in the summer of 17.
We won't be doing that.
Summer of 17.
Right.
You will not be doing it in the summer of 17.
The soonest then would be the summer of 18.
That would be what I would say. Because you have to have it designed and ready to go.
And Jack, when did you think about a vote? You said fall at our first meeting. Are you thinking later now?
I think you want to look at a fall vote, whether it's 17, 18.
You're talking about the pool
Yeah,
in 17.
17, 18, yeah.
Be 18, fiscal year 18, right? Is that what you're saying?
Potentially, yeah. Yes, but yeah. A lot of work to be done in between. Selling to the public.
So pull the money out, is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
Withdraw that 500,000.
40.
We can always put it back if we have to.
Is it easier to take it out or put it in? That's my only question.
If you put it back in and during the middle of a budget year, do a budget amendment, which we typically do 2 a year, so we can work the cycle.
Okay. So you need a motion to,
I guess I would suggest that,
you need a motion to pull that 500,000 out? No?
I'll make the adjustment, and then the adjustments will be made, and then the budget book will be available for public viewing yet this week. And we'll usually put that, we'll have a copy at City Hall and one in the library. And then I would suggest, probably, I don't know, I guess I've always had the budget documents, the state documents prepared for council to see at the time that they set the public hearing date, which I could have ready for the next council meeting on the 23rd.
23rd, yeah.
And then to have the meeting, the public hearing on a special date of the March 7th.
That way you have time. Otherwise, we would be March 14th would be our next meeting.
You could go as late as that.
No,
but then
yeah,
they'd
but
have
then
to
you
be
gotta have it done.
filed
Yeah.
the next
I wanna
day.
give you time to get it filed, so.
We're the 21st for that meeting, aren't we?
Not the 14th, isn't it?
Maybe I'm off one. I must be off one.
Our next council meeting is Tuesday, February 23rd.
Yeah, on the 23rd,
Yeah,
and that's where we'll wanna have
And
the
I'll have the
public hearing.
documents ready to go to paper for public hearing notice, because it's a 10 and 20 rule.
We need a
But
motion
tonight, tonight you are in essence saying this is what we want it to be. I just feel more comfortable if council sees the forms that get filed with the state, if there's any questions from that. So it takes all these pages here, from tab E through tab Z, and puts it in forms.
Puts it in the forms.
Is there a way that we could do that and have a public meeting on the 23rd, or is that not advisable?
No, I will have that stuff ready, the state forms ready in time, because I have to publish and there has to be a 10-day publication.
So March 14th is our first regularly scheduled meeting in March.
Is it, yes, regular. I would suggest we look at a special meeting on the 7th.
Generally, we've always done a special meeting and met for the 5-10 minutes just to do that in the week before.
Okay.
In the case that you do have some citizens that come and make some comments about it, if there's any adjustment that needs to be made, there's time to do that before filing.
Do you need a motion to set the public hearing for the 23rd tonight?
Public hearing would be March 7th.
March 7th, okay. So we can do that on the 23rd.
We can do that on 23rd.
Okay.
So you need a motion to prepare the budget as stated.
Yeah, I'll take a motion to that effect.
So
With I'll have two changes. I'll incorporate $10,000 for the CYP request out of the Postal Motel, as well as remove the expenditure and funding for the rec center locker rooms in fiscal 17. And the CYP will be in fiscal 16.
Sure.
I'll second it.
Okay, that is a motion and a second.
As long as you got enough for the record, that's it.
Yep. Benami?
Yes.
Bates? Hayden?
Yes.
Watts?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Washner?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Motion to adjourn.
I will.
I can't.
Because he legally did that.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
You took my spotlight, Jim.
Second.
Seaman?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Cox?
Yes.
Bates? Yes. Benami?
Yes.
Washner?
Yes.